Hello, good afternoon, Anne.
Hi, Cal. Hi, Cal. Can you hear me? No response. Can always unmute. Unmute.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Carl. Good afternoon, Anne.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, KL. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you all.
Okay, good. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yeah,
Afternoon.
thank you.
Good
Thanks
afternoon.
for
Yeah.
allowing us to resit.
Yeah,
No problem. It's my pleasure.
it's very important for this refresher for us. Imagine the first time was 2 years ago, is it? Or 1 year?
uh,
2 years ago, right? The workshop one.
th- this one last year.
Last year, man. I thought
Last year.
last year was workshop two.
Last year was workshop one.
Oh,
Was it?
okay.
One
I
and
think
two.
one and
One
two.
and two.
1 and 2. Yeah.
1 and 2, huh?
So
Oh,
it's
okay.
Yes, that's right.
probably around 1 year ago. The first one.
The first
Yeah,
one. I
yeah,
think
I
so.
think
Yeah.
so. Yes, correct, correct. So it's high time for to refresh
To refresh.
our
That's right.
memory. Yeah, that's good.
So that we
Thanks for
can
that.
progress to workshop 2, workshop 3, and workshop 4.
True, true. Yeah.
So do you all read Dao De Jing on your own?
Mm, you
No.
ask me, no lah. It's we can read it, but cannot remember it. It's very cheap,
Oh, okay.
no. We can read it, no, but you can never, they can never understand it or even apply it.
Right, right.
Mm.
Because I think that the way Lao Tzu wrote it was quite profound in
Yes,
some
it
ways.
is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Mm.
Actually, we can see a lot of Lao Tzu's teaching, I mean, Tao Te Ching
Mm.
teachings,
Mm.
showing up everywhere nowadays, no? Especially with the tariff war.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I think, China, up to a point, certain point, they decided to
Mm.
ignore the
Yes.
tariff war.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
just
saying that this is just a number game.
yeah,
Wu Wei.
correct.
Wu Wei.
Wu Wei. So in fact, China has been following. I mean, doing what Lao Tzu is saying, because it says that 民可名非常名 嘛. So
Mm.
tariff is just a label. No, it's a number game.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no point being engaged in that meaningless
Yes.
war. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Is it raining at your side?
Yeah. It's my side is yeah. It's raining, but it's not very heavy. But it's quite
Oh,
a lot of thunders, very loud.
right.
Yeah, it's starting
It's
to rain.
raining. Oh, okay. My side here is raining cats and dogs already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let's wait for the rest to come in.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
just mute myself.
Oh, okay, sure. If you have any questions, feel free to ask or type in the chat box. Either way will do.
Mm.
Sure, sure.
Good afternoon, Darren. Good afternoon. Okay, we'll start on time at 2 p.m. Now it's 1:57. One more minute to go. Okay, it's 2 p.m. Let me pull out the slides. And when I do that, I will disappear. Huh? So it's okay that you don't see me. As long as you can see the slides and hear me, then that's okay. Yeah. So let me pull out the slides first. So where's my slides? There you go. Okay, let's do one final sound check. Can you see the slides and then hear me? These two things only. If you can, type yes in the chat. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Anne. Okay. Yeah, also only four of us. So let's get started. I don't want to delay everyone's time. So good afternoon and welcome everyone. I'm thrilled to have you here for Dao De Jing Workshop 1, the first step in the transformative journey. Yeah. Okay. There's a message from a student. Let me see. Can't log in. Okay. Give me a minute. Let me help a student to come in. Did you all have problem coming in just now?
For me, yes.
Yes, huh? So how
Yeah.
do you manage to come in then?
I don't know
Darren
why,
said
you
yes,
know.
huh?
I just
Oh,
download the app.
I see, I see. Okay, okay. Let me
Not so
see
easy
what
lah.
happened. When use native app cannot now in browser. Oh, I see. Okay, okay. Okay, let me turn off some setting and see whether it's okay or not. Also, probably that's why some students are late, didn't come in.
I tried for a while to get in.
Oh, okay.
Not
So
so
Darren
not
said,
so.
like, right. So Darren saying able to register to allow me to go in. Okay, so you register again. Ah, okay. So one coming in now. Okay. Good afternoon, Pepe. Pepe, do you have a problem coming in? Okay, in that case, we'll give the rest 5 minutes to come in. I'm sure some of them have difficulties. I've changed some setting. Hopefully, that will ease the admission.
Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Alicia. Good afternoon, Andrew. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, we have noted. Yes, I think I received similar feedbacks from some other student also coming in. So Alicia say I'm using browser, cannot use apps. I'm not sure what happened, but I've changed some settings and it seems to be that particular settings. But that was a setting that I used for the past classes, so I'm not sure why. Yeah. Okay, you just retry several times and you are able to get in. That's good.
Mm.
Okay. Good afternoon, ETM.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, Andrew, this is a new platform. So please feel free to familiarize yourself with this new platform while we wait for a couple more of students to come in. They are still struggling. Good afternoon, Jasri.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, how can I call you Jaya, or what's a better way to call you Jaya Sri?
Yeah, Jash is fine. Jaya is also okay. JB is
Okay.
also okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, we are waiting for a couple more students to come in, and then once they come in, we'll start straight away.
Okay.
Just wait for one more, then we'll start. She's trying her very best to come in. Meanwhile, anyone has any quick questions about Dao De Jing that you would like to ask, feel free to ask, turn on your mic to ask or type in the chat. Okay, Jasri is asking, I won't be able to attend day 3. Will there be a replay available? Yes, but the replay might be available probably about a week after the live session has ended. Yes, there will be replay, and we will keep you informed once the replay is uploaded to the training portal. So for that, I would need you to open up an account in the Heartbeat training portal platform if you have not already done so. Great, great. Okay, so you have an account. That's good. Oh, Alicia, you're hearing heavy echo. I don't hear at my side. Anyone else hearing this heavy echo? Is the echo from me? No echo, huh? Okay, good, no echo. So Alicia, you may want to check your setting or your device. Just one more student and we are good to go. Okay, I think we shall start and I will go slow. Hopefully, by the time I finish all the introduction and admin, she'll be in. Yeah, okay. All right, so good afternoon and welcome everyone. So I'm thrilled to have you here for Dao De Jing Workshop 1, and this is the first step in a transformative journey. Where's my... Oh, okay, the other student is at the lobby. I think the other student is lost. Okay, so before we dive in, let's go over a few quick housekeeping notes. Number one, you can see there's this little button. I think most of you has already been typing something in the chat. So this little button on the bottom side, that is the button to open and close the chat, and the chat box is on the left side. So that's number one. Okay, then number two, all attendees except me, the trainer, will be muted for a smooth session. And number three, this session will be recorded for your future reference. So one is ready, it's about a week's time after today's session, then it'll be uploaded to the training portal. So if you have not registered an account with the Heartbeat training portal, please do so, because all the recording will be available from that platform. Right, so now let me ask you this. What if everything you taught about wisdom, success, and life was upside down? Most people believe that wisdom comes from knowing more, doing more, and controlling more. But what if real wisdom is about letting go, flowing with life, and embracing the unseen forces that already guide us? Now, because you are here, can I assume you are curious? What exactly is Dao De Jing? And more importantly, how can it change your life? So if this is so, then can you type yes in the chat? Thank you. Thank you, Jasri. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Carl. Right. So that's exactly what we are here to explore. Huh? So thank you, Darren. Get ready to shift your perspective and unlock the timeless wisdom of the Tao. Now, once again, welcome. I'm truly excited to have all of you here. Let me introduce myself briefly. I'm Kun Leong, Yo Kun Leong. I'm a eating life coach, trainer, and author. So for the past 12 over years, I've dedicated my life to helping people achieve positive, transformative, and lasting change through the power of eating life coaching. Now, here is something that might surprise you. What do you call it? Transformation doesn't come from adding more, right? It comes from shifting just 1 degree. And most people believe that massive change require huge effort, extreme discipline, and years of struggle. But what if the real key to success lies in small, invisible shifts that unlock an entirely different reality? And that's exactly what I do. Using an ancient system called I Ching and its powerful life tools, I've helped countless individuals create real change, not by adding more effort, but by uncovering what's already within them. So people often see me as more than just a feng shui master. Give me a minute. Good afternoon, Eve. Just in time. I guide individuals to recognize their hidden strength, realign their actions, and effortlessly move towards their goal, often by making a seemingly small but crucial 1 degree shift in their mindset and approach. So this is why my mission is very simple. 2 missions actually. To make number 1 is to make a positive and transformative difference in your life every single day. That's number 1. And number 2 is to make eating easy and practical for everyone. And today, through the Dao De Jing, we are going to explore profound yet practical wisdom that will help you navigate life with more ease, clarity, and success than ever before. So now, before we dive in, I want to set 2 important house rules. So rule number one, don't believe a thing I say. Yes, you heard that right. Don't just take my word for it. Instead, put the ideas we discussed today to the test. Challenge them, question them, experiment with them in your own life. Only then will you know if they truly work for you. Rule number 2, learn with a growth mindset. The Dao De Jing isn't about memorizing knowledge. Don't do that. Don't memorize Dao De Jing. It's about experiencing deep shifts in perception. Some ideas may feel unfamiliar, some contradictory to what you have been taught. That's a good thing. Growth happens when we are willing to explore new perspective. So now a quick disclaimer, your results will depend on how well you understand the concepts, fundamentals, and few things that we're going to discuss today. And your current circle of competence, I mean the skills and knowledge that you bring into this. Number 3 is the time and effort you put into applying what you learned. So since this factor differ for everyone, we cannot guarantee your success, nor are we responsible for any action you take. So what we can do here is to equip you with powerful insights. How you use them is entirely up to you. Now, like I said, this workshop is the first of a multi-series journey into the wisdom of the Dao De Jing. So before we jump in, let me challenge a common belief. Now, that wisdom is about learning more. We often think that the more we learn, the wiser we become. But the Tao teaches the opposite. True wisdom comes not from adding more, but from removing what is unnecessary. Right? And many of us are weighed down by man-made expectation, rigid rules, and overcomplicated ideas. But the Tao, Dao De Jing, invites us to strip away the noise and return to what is simple, natural, and effortless. And that's exactly what we will explore today in this workshop 1. So here is what is in stock for you. What do you call that? Module 1, we're going to cover the background of Dao De Jing, where it comes from, and why it matters. Then we'll move on to module module 1. Okay, so that's the origin. Module 2, we go on to the origin. The Tao that can be named is not eternal Tao. And what does this mean? Yeah. And then we move on to module 3, I Ching and the Dao De Jing, how these two ancient classics work together to shape a profound understanding of life. And then we move on to module 4, where we go into chapter 2 of the Dao De Jing, called the man-made standards, and why human imposed definition of success, beauty, and morality often leads us away from true harmony. Right? So I hope everyone is ready to see life in a new way. Right? So if you are ready to get started, type yes in the chat. Darren say, I like to applaud at least Dao De Jing. Master Yu is making a good step and proper to begin since last 2 years. Recently, since late last year, Dao De Jing began to flood the market in a not so good way with I Ching. Worst, some people don't able to read Chinese, say he read the Chinese Dao De Jing, teach English Dao De Jing. How to believe this interesting fact? At least here, from what I learned from Master Yo, it is in a healthier way. Thank you very much, Darren. Okay, good. And Jasri, thank you. Jashan, thank you. Okay, thank you, Eve. Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Darren. Module 1, background of Dao De Jing. Now, most of us have been conditioned to believe that deep wisdom must be complicated, right? That to understand life, we need endless books, years of study, and complex theories. But what if the deepest truths are actually very, very, very simple? So Dao De Jing challenges this very idea. It tells us that the more we try to grasp the truth, the more it slips away. The Tao that cannot be named is not the eternal Tao. I will talk about that. This is a very important first sentence of the entire Dao De Jing, the entire 81 chapters. And this is the very first line. Okay, and right from the start, it flips our usual way of thinking upside down. Or you'll find that Dao De Jing actually, a lot of the teachings are very controversial to what we have been taught, to what we have been conditioned to know. Right? You'll find out more about that. So what is Dao De Jing? The Dao De Jing is not a book of rigid rules, nor is it a philosophy that demands blind belief. Right? That's why one of my house rules say, don't believe a thing I say. It is not about blind belief. Dao De Jing is a collection of 81 short verses, simple, periodic, but yet very, 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 very profound. Right? And that 81 chapters actually reveal a lot of things. Primarily, it provides profound insights into, number one, the nature of existence. Basically meaning, what is life really about? Number two, the concept of the Tao, the invisible, ever-flowing force that shapes the universe. And number three, the principles of living in harmony with the Tao, meaning how to stop resisting and start flowing effortlessly with life. You'll notice that throughout the whole workshop and in subsequent workshop, I will keep talking about this word called flow. Go with the flow, go with the flow. And this is basically what Dao De Jing is trying to tell us to do. Go with the flow, right? So Dao De Jing is not written to give you more knowledge. It was written to undo what you think you know. So as we dive in, I invite you to unlearn, to let go of rigid thinking, and to experience the Tao for yourself. Now, this is what makes the Dao De Jing one of the most significant works of ancient Chinese philosophy. It's not just a book. It's a guide to unlearning, to stripping away illusions, and to seeing life as it truly is. Even after thousands of years, its teaching continue to inspire those seeking wisdom and balance. Why? Because it doesn't tell you what to think. It shows you how to see. Most people believe that to succeed in life, you must push harder, control more, and always be in the driver's seat, right? But the Tao Te Ching teaches the opposite. True power comes from simplicity, humility, and flowing, flowing with the natural order of the universe. So imagine a river. It doesn't fight the rocks in its path. It flows around them. So over time, it shapes the landscape effortlessly. And this is the power of the Tao, working with nature, not against it. Uh, that's why the Tao Te Ching emphasizes simplicity. Number one, simplicity. Yeah? The more we strip away the unnecessary, the clearer life becomes. Number two, humility. Those who claim to know everything often miss the deepest truth. And number three, flowing with nature. The universe operates in cycles. When we resist them, we suffer. Most people believe that wisdom is only valid if it comes from a single verified source with concrete historical proof. While it seems true, but here's the shift. Does it matter who wrote Tao Te Ching? Or does its wisdom speaks for itself? So we don't, like for example, we don't question gravity just because we don't know everything about Isaac Newton's life. Or we don't reject the sun's warmth just because we don't know its exact origin story. Lao Tzu or Old Master may have been one person or a group of sages or even a mythical figure. But does that change the power of the teachings? The real question is not who wrote it, but how its wisdom can transform your life today. So we often believe that the most profound concepts originate, just now we talk about, originate from a single original thinker, right? So the reality is far more from complex. Let's take the concept of Tao as an example. When Lao Tzu is credited with writing Tao Te Ching, in fact, he was not the first to discover the Tao. Make a guess who discovered Tao first. Make a guess. Type in the chat. It wasn't Lao Tzu who discovered Tao. Anyone knows who discovered Tao way before Lao Tzu? Well, in fact, the roots of this wisdom, this thing about Tao, trace back to Fu Xi, who lived around the 29th century BCE. He is the legendary sage who developed the foundation of I Ching. Wisdom is not created in isolation. It is built upon layers of understanding, of insights, and of cultural heritage that spans generations. So just as Fu Xi laid the groundwork for the concept of Tao, Lao Tzu expanded upon it, enriching it with his own insights and experiences. So Lao Tzu's work is a culmination of ancient wisdom, encapsulating centuries of thought and observation about the natural order of the universe. He didn't invent the idea, he refined it and make it accessible to his time and to ours. So what if true wisdom is less about the individual and more about the collective journey of understanding that spans across time? So many people believe that knowledge and wisdom only have value if they can be articulated in clear written language. What if I told you that the most profound truth often exists beyond words? The Tao is often referred to as the source code of existence. Basically meaning the root origin of everything. So, like for example, long before written characters were invented, the wisdom of the Tao were already alive in the natural world, waiting to be discovered. In the time of Fuxi, there were no Chinese characters to capture the essence of this wisdom. So instead, what they do, the people there rely on symbols, visual representation of ideas to communicate their understanding of the universe. So some of the earliest Chinese characters were recognized today date back to the Shang dynasty. That means around 16th century BCE. But before that, knowledge was conveyed through symbols and oral traditions. Example, the idea that one stroke in Chinese called 一画开天. I'm sure some of you must have heard about this phrase, 一画开天. Basically, loosely translated into English, it means one stroke opens up heaven and earth. 一画开天. Illustrate how a simple symbol, that's one stroke. And how the stroke looks like is just like this one. Like that, one stroke. And it split into heaven, or called yang, and then the other part is earth, is called yin. So it's a single symbol that encapsulates the creation of the universe, where yin and yang emerge. So from these simple strokes, we see the evolution of ideas. And I'm sure those who have learned metaphysics have seen this model before, where yin yang evolve into the four symbols. Right? This is the where's my pen? Okay, this is the yin yang, and it evolved into the four symbols here. This is the four symbols, and which further developed into the 8 trigrams here. And then from there, the whole universe was born. Okay. If he's asking, Master, I know Tao is to be simple and follow the flow. But if everyone's like that, how the technology develop and how human evolve? Now, when I say simple and follow the flow, right? You just think about computer. When someone overcomplicate theories, concepts, they tend to be blinded. But someone who goes back to the fundamental, that means goes back to the very simple concepts like yin and yang, 0 and 1, the binary. Can you see how it develops based on this concept, whereby the 0 and 1, okay, 0 and 1 develop into the 四象 into the 八卦 into the entire universe. So I can't remember the name of that person, that genius person who discovered yin yang, okay, binary, yeah, and then use the concept of yin yang to develop into computers and into laptops, and perhaps those codings, or are ultimately, when you strip everything apart, the most simple one is still the binary 1 and 0. That is called simplified things. Okay, so you must simplify things before you're able to complicate things. You get my point, Eve? Okay, so these symbols known as xiang, right? Xiang here. Symbolism, xiang, continues to hold immense significance in Chinese philosophy and culture, and even in metaphysical studies. A lot of practitioners are still relying on xiang, so much so that everything is about xiang, or symbolism. I give you examples. So practitioners today often rely on various forms of symbolism, or called xiang, such as, for example, talk about 天象, heavenly symbols. I mean, they look at the weather, they look at the cloud, they look at the sun, and they will make sense out of what they see. So they're looking at the symbolism of the heaven. Yeah, and there's another one is called the 面相 or 人相. It's called the face reading. Okay, well, you have one line here, you have one stroke there. You know what does it mean? They are looking at symbols. They are looking at impression. And then there's another one, third one called the earthly symbol called the 地象, the mountain. And that's where feng shui comes in. They look at the mountain, they look at the terrain, they look at the slope, they look at the gradient, and then they will make sense of what they see. This is called 地象. Okay, and then the other one, last one is called 卦象. 卦象 basically means looking at the symbols that comes out from the hexagram and the trigram, and then make sense from those. So a lot of us, especially metaphysical practitioners, they rely on 象 a lot. And here is where it gets tricky. Over obsessing over these symbols can actually impede your progress and breakthroughs. So when we become too fixated on the representation, we can lose sight of the deeper meaning and the truth they embody. So while symbols are powerful tools for communication, the real challenge lies in using them wisely without getting trapped in them. So what do you think happens when everyone become fixated on the xiang, the symbols and the path laid out by society? So let me share a personal story. Now, during my school years, there was a strong societal pressure to follow a specific path. Specifically, once you have finished your O level, you should go to A level route. That was my time. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's the same for you. So, but at least that was for mine, and it was seen as the most reliable way to gain entry into a university. So my parents were no exception. They believed that if I didn't follow this path, my future was bleak. They would often say things like, if you don't take this route, you might end up sweeping the roads or washing toilets. So this mindset created a very narrow view of success. So anyone who chose a different path, like going to a polytechnic back then, was often looked down upon, seen as someone who had failed or was at the bottom rung of the academic ladder. Now, here's the real question. What if this fixation on symbols and society expectations limits our potential? What if the truth essence of success lies in embracing diverse paths and perspectives instead of following a single rigid route? You know, when we focus solely on what society defines as success, we risk missing out on our unique strength and opportunity. Now, let's explore, from time to time, I will bring in, wisdom from I Ching as well, because they are both talking about the same thing. They're talking about the universe, talking about the principles, and talking about Tao. So they are the same. They are two sides of the same coin. So from time to time, I will bring some wisdom from I Ching. So bear with me. So let's explore the concept of hexagram 17 called 泽雷水, following, which signifies following or obedience, right? So while this may seem like a positive trait, it can easily tip into obsession when we become overly fixated on conforming to external standards or expectations. When that obsession takes hold, we risk slipping into hexagram 18. Now, why 18? Because it's a sequential number. Hexagram following is numbered as 17, and the progression from 17 obviously is into 18. So, and what is 18? 18 is what do you call that? Confusing. The name of the hexagram is called confusing, which symbolizes decadent or corruption. So this hexagram represents a state where our values become distorted and we lose our authentic self in the pursuit of societal approval. Now, he's asking, can advise, what do you mean by being simple? Simple means always go back to the simple fundamental concepts. You have attended most of my classes and you know that each time when I start a class, I will always start from the very basic, and every time when I go into the advanced module, I will still pull you back to the basic fundamentals. You get my point, Eve and everyone else? So if you want to learn more, learn far, learn further, you must always bring along the fundamentals, which is the most simple concepts. For example, yin and yang. This is a very simple concept. But as we learn into those complicated advanced modules, we still must trace back to this yin and yang so that you can understand why were those advanced methodology the way they are now. You get my point, Eve? So that's why Tao always say that go back to the simple basic and you won't be lost. Clear, Eve? Right. Where was I? Okay, let me. Okay, so people became obsessed with Xiang. Xiang basically means symbols and representations. So they mistook the map for the territory and the finger for the moon. So over generations, they follow Xiang so rigidly that they lost sight of the deeper meaning behind it. So Lao Tzu saw the danger in this fixation. He understood that when people cling too tightly to form, they become trapped. They stop thinking, they stop questioning, they stop flowing. Just like when we learn advanced, right? When they give you this formula, you just follow this formula and you don't know why this formula is this way in the first place. Or because you stop thinking, you stop questioning, and you stop flowing. So he cautioned against becoming so obsessed with the form, I mean the xiang, that we miss the true essence of what it represents. So instead of seeking the Tao as a set of rigid rules or symbols to follow, we must remember that the Tao is a living, breathing force, one that encourages flow, flexibility, and personal understanding. So what did Lao Tzu do? Okay, so Lao Tzu decided to write the Dao De Jing. Now, a point to note, he wasn't introducing something new. He was bringing back the Tao that Fu Xi wanted to share, I mean the true essence of existence, but couldn't fully express due to the lack of written language during Fu Xi's time. So he wrote, Lao Tzu wrote the Dao De Jing as a mean of a soft reset. In Chinese, we call it 破相立道. Or what is this soft reset? Is basically meaning trying to break the obsession with xiang, the form, and then re-establishing the true Tao. He wanted people to unlearn the rigid structure and reawaken to the Tao in its purest form. That means go back to the most simplest form. Something beyond words, something beyond symbols, and beyond formulas. Now, here's the real question. Are you here to collect more xiang, or are you ready to experience the Tao for yourself? So which is you? Now, as Lao Tzu was writing the Dao De Jing, a concern crossed his mind. Thank you, Jayasri. You are here to experience the Tao. Huh? Yes. Okay, so all of us, I'm sure all of us wants to experience the Tao. So let's do it together. I can only point you the way, but you have to walk the path yourself to experience it. Or I cannot copy and paste the experience to you. Yeah. Okay, so as Lao Tzu was writing the Dao De Jing, a concern crossed his mind. Now, what if people start obsessing over the Tao he wrote? What if they treat his words as absolute truth instead of using them as a guide to experience the Tao themselves? Now, Lao Tzu wasn't trying to give people a fixed doctrine. He was trying to free them from rigid thinking. So what did he do? Very clever. Huh? He wrote a disclaimer right at the beginning of the Dao De Jing. Okay, and that is the very first line of chapter 1, and that holds a warning. In Chinese, it's called 道可道，非常道. Loosely translated, it says that the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. So this is the disclaimer. Okay, so with this reminds us words are just pointers, not the truth itself. So if you get attached to the words, you miss the real Tao. If say, masters, everyone's Tao is different, my Tao may not be your Tao. That's right. But combine together is still the Tao. You see, that's like an elephant, right? And few blind men or blindfolded men, when they touch different parts of the elephant, some may describe how the tails looks like. When they touch the tail, they'll describe how the tails look like. And when someone else touch the ear, they may describe how the ear looks like. They have their own way of recognizing the Tao, but none of them are wrong. But none of them, what they say, are the complete total Tao. But they are not wrong, okay? But it's not the complete thing. So, but when you put all these things together, then that form the Tao, and there may be more than they have just discovered, right? So, if you are correct, everyone's Tao is different. So as I share this Tao De Jing with you, I'm sharing my experience, my understanding. You may have a different understanding, and that is your Tao. So I'm sharing my Tao. And from there, you may have discovered your own Tao. That's why my first house rule is saying, don't believe a thing I say. It's not the absolute, right? So that's a very good question, Eve. So with this, okay, if say, oh yeah, why you ask us back to the origin? Okay, I understand. Okay, very good. So okay, now I mentioned about the disclaimer, right? Lao Tzu was very smart in this manner here. Before he began with anything else, he wrote the disclaimer, and that disclaimer is 道可道，非常道. All right, this is the very first line in the book. So with this, I will end module 1 here and dive into module 2, where we start on the chapter 1 of Dao De Jing. Right? Okay. So let's get on to module 2, the origin, where we begin with the legendary first line. I call it legendary because I think most people will recognize this first line of the Dao De Jing. And what's the first line? That is the disclaimer. It's called 道可道，非常道. Right? I will show you the loosely translated English words. Like I say, because whatever I'm showing you in terms of the English translation, this is at best my own translation. May not fully represent what the Chinese is saying, the Chinese wording are saying. Okay, so 道可道，非常道. Now, if you are reading this just as a periodic line, you will miss the goal. Imagine Lao Tzu sitting down, holding a brush and thinking, Fu Xi saw the Tao, but he didn't have the language to express it. That's why he relied on form or xiang or symbols and patterns to convey. Now, fast forward to Lao Tzu's time, he finally had language. So he says, out of goodwill, I will try to say something about this Tao. And his intention is to continue what Fu Xi started, to share the Tao in a way the people of his time could finally understand now that they had language. Okay, but he had a concern, right? I mentioned he had a concern, right? So what if people start getting obsessed with the words I write? I mean, Lao Tzu, right? What if they cling to the form and forget the essence again, like what they did to Xiang, to the form? So that's why before he even begins, he inserts a built-in disclaimer. So he said that once I try to explain it, it's already not the eternal Tao. So probably to him, he only describing the tail of the elephant. He didn't even go on to talk about the leg, the nose, the trunk, and the tusk, So that's his disclaimer. So why would he say that? Because he knew the moment we try to define something as vast, as fluid, as boundless as the Tao, we limit it already. We trap it already. We reduce it to something the mind can grasp instead of something the heart can experience. So this is Lao Tzu's version of a soft reset. a call to unlearn before we learn. A reminder to go beyond words, concepts, and even the so-called Tao that we think we know. So before we dive any deeper, let's release the need to understand Tao with the head and get ready to feel it with our heart and being. Are you willing to do that? Okay, let's go deeper. Thank you, Eve. Thank you, Jiaxuan. Thank you, Jasri. Let's go deeper. If chapter 1 is a warning against obsession, then what exactly is this Tao we are being asked not to obsess over? Most people come into a Dao De Jing workshop hoping to understand Tao. Am I right to say that? But the real breakthrough comes when you stop trying to understand it and start learning to experience it. So, how do we approach this Tao? Let me offer you 3 windows. Simple yet powerful way to begin. Now, number 1, Tao is the source of all things. It's not a god. It's not a belief system, right? It's the invisible intelligence behind everything. I call it invisible intelligence. I even call AI also can, but it's not it's not artificial, or it is the truth intelligence. So the reason the sky holds itself up, the reason your body heals when it's cut, the reason thoughts arise without you forcing them. Now that's Tao. Tao is the origin of all existence, before word, before form, before labels. That's the first window. Okay, let's move on to second window. Second window is Tao is the way of nature. Tao doesn't force, it doesn't force its way through. It flows. That's like the river. No, rivers don't push, they follow gravity. Trees don't hurry, but they grow. Night becomes day, day becomes night without debate. Okay, so Tao is the natural rhythm of life, unchanging in its spontaneity. So the third window is Tao is the way of life. You have felt it before. That moment when everything clicks, when efforts become effortless, when you say the right words at the right time without planning. When you are in the zone, that's Tao in action. Now, Tao is not far, far away. Okay, Tao is what happens when you stop trying to control everything. So the real question is not what is Tao. The real question is, can you let go enough to feel it? Right? So let's continue to explore how Lao Tzu guides us into this experience step by step. So with that, let's zoom in into the first line of Dao De Jing again. 道可道，非常道. Now, this line alone has confused scholars, mystics, and seekers for over 2,500 years or more. But maybe it's simpler than what we think if we dare to shift our mindset. So let's break it apart. Now, the first 3 Chinese character, Dao, Ke Dao, basically means if Dao can be spoken or verbalized, then that's Lao Tzu's way of saying, if I can explain this Tao to you in words, then followed by, the last 3 Chinese characters are 非常道, basically meaning, then it's not the eternal Tao, not the whole picture, not the real deal. That's like the elephant analogy that I've given you just now. You're just touching the tail, or you're just touching the ear or the trunk. So most of us were trained to look for truth in words, in schools, in books, in quotes, in clever frameworks. But Lao Tzu opened his book by saying, warning, the moment you try to package truth into words, you have already shrunk it. Words are symbols. At best, they point to the Tao, but they are not the Tao itself. It's like mistaking the menu for the meal. Also, here's a trap. When you cling too tightly to the description, you miss the direct experience. when you obsess over the xiang, the form, the appearance, and the symbols, you forget the Tao. And the Tao is the source and the essence. So what's the right way forward? Not to reject the words, but to use them like Lao Tzu did, as a compass, not a cage. Let this be your mantra as we dive deeper. Okay, this is a mantra. What I hear today is just a finger pointing to the moon. I will not mistake the finger for the moon itself. I repeat this mantra. What I hear today is just a finger pointing to the moon. I will not mistake the finger for the moon itself. So let's continue and explore how Lao Tzu teaches us to go beyond the finger and taste the moonlight for ourselves. Now, why does he call it Chang Dao, the eternal Dao? Chang Dao, eternal Dao. This one. Because the Chang Dao, or the eternal Dao, the entire Dao, is bigger than what we can observe. So let's unpack this. The true Tao includes two layers. One layer is called the Bian, the changing portion. This one is the part we can observe. For example, day and night, growth and decay, success and failure. And the other, the other layer is called the unchanging, 不变, unchanging, immutable, right? That part we can't directly observe. The invisible rules behind nature, the silent intelligence behind life, the source of order in chaos. So we live in the dance of both. So that's Tao. And here's the problem. Our mind wants to pin it down. Our mouth wants to define it. The scholars wants to record it. But Lao Tzu warned us, even the ancient sages, those who were truly wise, could only catch glimpses of the Tao's movements, thus shadows on the wall. Yes, they verbalized what they could. They recorded patterns. They make symbols. They drew diagrams. But all of that is like describing the ocean using just a cup of water. There's so much more of Tao that remains unseen, unspoken, and ungraspable. Let's bring in a little help from the I Ching, specifically hexagram 20 called Guan viewing. Have you ever tried looking through a peephole in a door? You only see a narrow slice of what's really happening outside. You don't see the full picture. You don't know who's just out of frame or what's behind the scenes. And this is exactly how we observe Tao. Just a narrow view through the keyhole of our understanding. And each of us has different understanding, different perspective. That's why, like what Eve says, my Tao is different from her Tao, and her Tao could be different from your Tao. As long as these two Tao don't sing with each other, you probably will not see eye to eye. Yeah. Okay, so furthermore on this hexagram viewing, first line of this hexagram, it says here, at the beginning of any path, including Tao, you observe like a child. Very innocent, very curious, but not yet aware of what you are missing. So it says here, line 1 of this hexagram viewing, it says, it's okay to be here. Everyone starts here. If say, is asking, Master, what's unchanging Tao? Like sun and moon, I thought Tao is forever changing. Please enlighten. Okay, I mentioned there that one part, there are two layers, right? One is the changing, one is the unchanging. Now, unchanging, for example, changing, I think you probably know, day to night, night to day, and the 4 seasons, spring to summer, summer to autumn, autumn to winter, these are changing, always changing, right? So this one, this layer of changing, Now, when it comes to unchanging, it is the universal law or the universal principles that run behind the scenes and will not change. For example, gravity. No matter who you are, whether it's bird or whatever, you will be subjected to the gravity, right? Okay, or aging process. No matter who you are, you will just grow old and decay. So this process is called, is a universal law. It's called aging process. So this part here is the immutable law, unchanging. You get that, Eve? So there's always two layers running at all times, changing, unchanging. Get that? So for example, we talk about the season change, right? The season change, right? Although what we can see with our naked eye are the changing seasons, but behind the scene, the unchanging law is called the seasonal change. There won't be a fifth, there won't be a sixth season coming out of nowhere, suddenly next year or next 2 years. You won't see a sixth season coming out. Okay, at most 5 seasons only. And a lot of time, if you have learned metaphysics from me, I always advocate that there are 5 seasons, right? Not only spring, not only summer, not only autumn, not only winter, but there's another important season. It's called the midsummer, 长夏. Okay, 长夏is a very, very important season. Okay, so if you have learned metaphysics from me, then you should know that there are actually 5 seasons. Yeah. Okay, so you clear about that? So if yes, they are subtle, invisible, unseen, unobservable, but yet they are running, but behind the scene. Okay, so let's move on to the line 2 of this hexagram. It's called picking through a narrow crack. This is the shift. You start realizing, hey, wait a minute, I'm viewing Tao through a peephole. And then you begin to sense that there's more beyond what you can see, beyond logic, beyond books, beyond current perception. And then now you tie it back to chapter 1 of the Dao De Jing. 道可道，非常道. So if you can see it, if you can speak it, then that's not the whole Tao. So just like this hexagram viewing, it tells us, if you think you see everything, you are likely still picking through a peephole. So just remind yourself this. I repeat. If you think you see everything, you are likely still picking through a peephole. So don't assume you know everything already. So over several chapters, Lao Tzu repeatedly explains what and where the Tao is. So, like for example, in chapter 1, we are now on chapter 1. In chapter 1, the Tao is the ultimate source of heaven, earth, and all things. That's chapter 1. He mentioned that. And then in chapter 4, he also mentioned that the Tao is the source of all things. And in chapter 6, he says the Tao is the root of heaven and earth. And in chapter 25, the Tao is the mother of heaven and earth, emphasizing that it follows natural order. Right? And there are more, I'm not only restricting to these 4, there are more. So instead of looking for a single definition, think of Tao as a vast ocean of understanding. Each chapter is like a wave, revealing new insights and perspective that encourage us to dive deeper into Tao. Lao Tzu didn't just want to convey the Tao once. He wanted to immerse us in its essence. So each mention brings us closer to the truth, but also invite us to expand our perception continually. Darren said, true. Don't assume we know the game of tariff. This is called Dao Zhong Zi. What is that? Dao Zhong Zi Dao. Okay. Let's talk about the close relationship between the Tao and our life. Right? So many of us have been conditioned to see, oh, okay, so then Tao Zhong the Tao. Oh, right. Okay. Oh, great. Okay, so let's continue. Many of us have been conditioned to see ourselves as separate from nature, like we are observer of the world rather than integral parts of it. Lao Tzu teaches us something profoundly different. In chapter 34, in subsequent workshops. In chapter 34, he states, the Tao nourishes all things without being their master. So this implies a dynamic relationship where the Tao is the nurturing force of life, our life, and all others' life. And we are part of that nourishing process. So now consider this analogy. The earth is our body. Is wrong. The earth is our mother body. Yeah. And we are like a red and white blood cell. Okay, just imagine this. So earth is the body. We are like the red white blood cells flowing through this mother earth, through the veins. And what happens when the white blood cells, I mean the protectors, start attacking the body for no reason? So we see issues like autoimmune diseases and blood cancers arise, just as in our body, our actions on earth matters too. We are like white blood cells, and if these white blood cells, right, act crazy, Mother Earth going to suffer too. So this is what the chapter 34 is trying to tell us. And then in chapter 42, we begin to understand the genesis of modern times. For civilization to survive, we must help Earth survive first. To help Earth thrive, we must learn from nature. So when we observe other creatures, we notice something crucial, like the insects, animals, squirrels, and all these creatures. If you study them carefully, you will notice something very crucial. Only humans destroy Earth. All other beings play a role in sustaining it. And it's only human that goes around destroying Earth. And that's very sad, right? So what if instead of viewing ourselves as separate, we see ourselves as part of a larger system? What if our actions directly influence the health of our planet? And in case you don't know, USA has withdrawn itself from the Paris Climate Pact, those sustaining the Earth, they have withdrawn themselves. A setting to know that. So it's not just about living sustainably, it's about understanding that our well-being is intertwined with the health of the earth. So as we continue exploring the Tao, let's embrace the understanding that we are not just passive observers. We are active participants in the dance of life, responsible for nurturing the world around us. Now, what if the greatest teacher of all time is not a scholar, is not a sage, is not a scroll, is not a book, is not encyclopedia, but nature itself? Lao Tzu saw this very clearly, and he didn't just admire nature, he invited us to model after nature. So over multiple chapters, further chapters, he laid out a roadmap of how to live wisely, harmoniously, and powerfully, not by control or resistance, but by observation and alignment. Example, chapter 2 reminds us, all things arise and grow without clinging or forcing. They serve without claiming. They succeed without taking credits. So can we live, serve, and succeed the same way without attachment or ego? This is what we will explore in chapter 2. Also in chapter 7, it says that heaven and earth endure because they do not live for themselves. So Lao Tzu points to selflessness, not in but in contribution without self-obsession as the secret to lasting impact. Okay, and chapter 8, it says that the highest goodness is like water. Water flows, again, the word flows. Water flows, adapts, nourishes, and never competes. That means never fight with each other. It finds its ways, not through force, but by yielding. So ask yourself, can I learn to be more like water that is flexible, humble, but yet powerful? And then chapter 10, he says, they lead without control, act without dependence, achieve without owning. Right? So this is profound virtue, in Chinese called 应德. Next, some more, chapter 25, it says here, man follows earth, earth follows heaven, heaven follows Tao, Tao follows nature. very profound phrase, but how many of us can do it? Okay, so this is a question mark. Right? So far, many people know this phrase, but what have we been doing? No, we have been trying to fight nature all the time. Okay, so chapter 39 warns us that when we go against natural order, disasters will come. When you follow it, peace and prosperity arise. And we are seeing this in our world today. Burnout. A lot of people burn out. Environmental crisis, spiritual emptiness. So not because nature has failed us, but because we stopped listening. Pretty sad. So Lao Tzu teaches us not just to look, but to sense, to feel, and to trust the unseen rhythms of life. Because in every life situation, whether chaos or calmness, there's always more than meets the eyes. Like what Darren said, 道中之道. So here's your invitation for this module. Don't just look outward, tune inward. Don't just observe the obvious, sense the subtle. Like what Eve is trying to sense now, the unchanging Tao, which is very subtle. Don't chase the form. Listen for the formless. That's where the Tao whispers. Okay? You know, this is the Chinese president Xi Jinping. He once said that I say in Chinese first, 我们不能吃祖宗饭，断了子孙路. Loosely translated, we cannot live off our ancestors' legacy while cutting off the path for our descendants. Well said. I believe he has subscribed to the teachings of Dao De Jing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said this. And whether you agree with him or not politically, this wisdom, okay, it is deeply, if I may say, Taoish in nature. If there's such word called Taoish, it's very Taoish in nature. So because Lao Tzu said the same 2,500 years ago in a more chaotic way, and that is in chapter 34. Lao Tzu described the Tao as it nourishes all things without being their masters. So the Tao provides, sustains, nurtures without hoarding, without destroying, without dominating. Okay, and in chapter 39, he warns us clearly when the natural order is broken, disasters will follow. So basically, end point is we are not just people living in the present. We are ancestors in the making. So your choices, my choices, everyone's choices don't just impact individually. They ripple forward into your children, their children, and the earth they will inherit. Think of it this way. If the earth is the body of our collective family, then you are either a red blood cell keeping it alive or a root white blood cell causing internal destruction. Lao Tzu calls us to learn from nature because nature gives without taking and balances without ego. So ask yourself, am I living a life that my descendant will thank me for, or one they will have to clean up after? So let this module reawaken something deeper. Not just how to live right, but how to become a responsible ancestor. That's the Tao. So most of us were taught be the best, stay ahead, take control, and what else. But Dao De Jing offers a radical, counterintuitive truth, and the true power comes from letting go. All right. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of flavor, in all the subsequent chapters, what we are going to expect to see, but we'll be there. We'll reach there in times to come in subsequent workshops. So, for example, in chapter 32, it says that what is bent become whole, what is crooked becomes straight. Now, life isn't about standing tall all the time. It's about learning to yield, to be flexible, and to flow. Again, the word flow. Chapter 66, it says the reason rivers and seas can be the kings of valley is that they are good at staying low. Waters, always stay low. Okay. And if you want influence, be humble, be the lowest. That's how you become the greatest. Okay. And then chapter 80, it allowed to describe an ideal world. not filled with competition or ambition, but one that is simple, contented, peaceful. So no need to rush ahead. No need to conquer or compare. Less truly is more. And then in chapter 81, you say truthful words are not beautiful. Beautiful words are not truthful. It's not about sweet talk, clever branding, or flashy success. It's about authenticity, simplicity, sincerity, and let go of the obsession to control, to compete, to prove. True power lies in humility. Again, he's repeating humility, softness, and simplicity. Okay, so the Tao teaches us water flows downward, but it carves mountain. The softest grass endures the hardest wind. The invisible Tao governs the visible world. So, if what you have believed all your life isn't working, maybe it's time to unlearn and let the Tao lead. Okay, I've talked so much. I'm still at the first line. You see, it's so profound. That's one line like that. I can talk so much. I can go on actually on the first line, but I think it's enough. I think you should have understood enough. Am I right to say that you've understood enough on the first line? Type yes in the chat if you've understood enough, and that I can proceed on with the second line. Thank you, Jia Xuan. Thank you, Eve. So let's thank you, Jasri. Thank you, Anne. Let's examine the second line. Right? Because Lao Tzu warned us right from the beginning, 名可名,非常名. The second disclaimer, 名可名,非常名. Loosely translated, that name that can be named is not the eternal name. That's like the Tao that can be spoken or verbalized is not the eternal Tao. Same thing with name. Okay, so I may use the word name or I may use another word called label, but they mean the same. Okay, they mean the same. Either I use name or I use label, it means the same. So we live in a world obsessed with labels. For example, what's your job title? Are you introvert or are you extrovert? Are you diagnosed with ADHD? Something like that. Are you successful or not? Or what's the right way to live? So all this is a trap, and that this trap, Lao Tzu is pointing out, once we name something, we unconsciously limit it. We string the infinite into a box we can manage. So think about this. When you call someone lazy, right? You have stopped seeing the potential to change. When you say, this is who I am, you may unconsciously stop growing beyond that label. So Lao Tzu is inviting us to loosen our grip. He's saying, whatever you can describe about the Tao is not the full Tao. Whatever you can name, that name can never capture its eternal essence. I'll give you an example. Now, let me ask you this. If let's say I've eaten this mango, and you ask me, how's the mango? And my reply to you is, oh, the mango is so sweet, juicy, fragrant, incredible. Is that enough? Does what I say truly tell you what it tastes like? So here's the point. No matter how vivid my description to you is, you still won't know how sweet until you take that bite yourself. So those descriptions that I use, sweet, incredible, all these are just labels. Okay, so this is the limit of labels. They can only point you towards that experience, but they can never replace it. You can hear 100 people talk about Tao. You can memorize all 81 chapters of the Dao De Jing. But until you live it, until you feel the rhythm of Tao in your breath, in your body, in your choices, you are still standing outside the mango. Lao Tzu saw this danger. That's why he said, 名可名,非常名. So if you can name it, it's not the eternal name. Labels create an illusion of understanding. they trap you into thinking, I've got it. But when in truth, you have only got the shell of it, a small portion of it. So don't settle for labels. This is what Lao Tzu is trying to warn us. Don't settle for labels. Don't chase the perfect explanation. Experience it for yourself. Tao is like mango. If you want to know, you eat it, you live it, you beat it. So have you ever scrolled through social media and thought, wow, everyone else seems to have it all together? But pause here. What you're seeing is the filtered life. I call it filtered life. It's a highlight reel. The trips, the wins, the perfect selfies, But what you don't see, the breakdown, the stress, the doubts, the dishes piling up in the sink, that's the illusion of the surface. It looks real, but it's only a slice of the truth. And this is exactly what Lao Tzu warned us about when he said, 名可名,非常名. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. He was pointing out this human tendency to mistake the cover for the essence, to confuse the name for the real thing, to accept the surface as the whole truth. Basically means don't judge a book by its cover. Now, when it comes to understanding the world, we often think there's only one clear path. But what if I told you that the greatest minds in Chinese philosophy took two very different routes to arrive at their truth? So Lao Tzu, as you can see on the slides here, Lao Tzu starts with Tian Dao. Tian Dao basically means the way of heaven. He looked at the larger cosmic principles first and brings it down to Ren Dao, meaning the way of humanity. So Lao Tzu talked macro, then come down to micro. This Lao Tzu approach. In other words, understanding the universe first, and then see how it reflects in our life. This approach invites us to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. That the Tao flows through the cosmos, guiding us to align with the natural order. So this is Lao Tzu's approach. Now, on the flip side, Kongzi. We have Kongzi. Kongzi, English name is called Confucius. Confucius, who begins the other way. It's not wrong. Either one is wrong. Okay, just the approach is different only. Kongzi begins with Ren Dao. That means the way of humanity. He emphasizes our responsibilities to each other, our relationship and social ethics before addressing the Tian Dao, or the way of heaven. And his method says, focus on human relationship first, then expand your understanding to the cosmos. And so here's the real questions. What if both approaches are valid? What if they serve different needs at different times in our life? So I urge you, instead of seeing one as superior, can we embrace both perspectives? Can we acknowledge that some days we need to look up to the heavens and align with the greater Tao? And other days, we need to focus on how we treat each other right here on earth. So when you feel lost or disconnected, consider which approach resonates more with you. Lao Tzu reminds us to look at cosmic flow, while Kongzi encourages us to cultivate our immediate relationships. So embrace the duality. Don't be locked into one way of thinking. Life is complex, and wisdom comes from the balance of perspectives. So Darren said, regardless which Tao, we tend to blend along journey while to see things. That's right. So enjoy the journey. Basically, Lao is trying to tell us, enjoy the journey. He said, I approach both concurrently as I see them interconnected. Very good, Eve. Very good. Okay, very good. So do that. Do that. Okay, so despite their different approaches, both sages, it means Lao Tzu and Kongzi, they are pointing us towards the same destination, bringing forth the root source, the origin of everything, the ultimate essence that binds us to the universe. So both Lao Tzu and Kongzi are urging us to recognize the interconnectedness of all things, whether through the lens of cosmic principles or human relationships. So they both seek to illuminate, glorify the Tao that underlies all existence. So this is the last slide for the module 2. So in the realm of spirituality and philosophy, it's common to encounter contradictions. Take many faiths, for example, some can be violently contradictory, especially on issues like reincarnation or the nature of God. But what if I told you that the contradiction doesn't negate truth? Let's take a closer look at two profound systems in Chinese thought. One is called the Dao De Jing, and the other one is called the I Ching. At first glance, they seem at odds, right? I Ching focuses on change, the dynamic of life, and the idea that everything is in a constant state of flux. In contrast, Dao De Jing emphasizes stillness, the nature of Tao as a constant, and finding harmony with the natural order. So instead of seeing this text as contradictory, consider that they each address different aspects of the human experiences. I Ching teaches us to navigate change, to embrace the unpredictability of life, understand the cycles, and find wisdom in the transitions. Dao De Jing offers us a framework for understanding the eternal, the underlying principles that govern all existence, urging us to flow, again, to flow with the Tao. So, contradiction doesn't mean invalidity. So instead of forcing one philosophy to fit neatly into another, recognize that both can coexist. They offer complementary insights that together can deepen our understanding of reality. So life is full of paradoxes. I Ching and Dao De Jing reflect that beautifully. So by embracing both, we cultivate a more holistic view, allowing us to navigate both the chaos of change and the serenity of stillness. Right? Let me see. Did I miss out any comment or questions? Darren say, Kongzi say we need to draw a line, yet Lao Tzu says, is there really a line? Laugh out loud, head bang. Okay. Yeah. So they may seem contradictory, but then they are actually two sides of the same coin. They have their own way of looking at the Tao, but none of them are wrong. So if say Dao De Jing and I Ching both are truth, that's right. They are talking about the same thing. They are talking about the same Tao. Okay, so don't mess up on this. They are both I Ching and Dao De Jing talking about the same Tao, same universe. Okay, so this is the last slide for this module. Let's take a 10-minute break. Now it's 3:29. Let's take a 10-minute break, stretch, grab a drink, or simply breathe. When we come back, bring your curiosity and openness as we continue this journey together. So I'll start a timer. And if you have questions, feel free to type in the chat. I will address them after the break. Right? So I will start the timer now. Give me a minute. Okay, I'll see you back in 10 minutes time. Anyone back from the break? Thank you, Jia Xuan. You're back. Who else is back? Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Carl. If you have questions, feel free to type in the chat. Three more minutes. Okay, if you have your question there, I will address them after the break. Thank you, Anne. One more minute. Good afternoon, Fiona. No worries, no worries. We are having our break now, resuming class soon. And we are done with module 1, module 2. So after the break, we will go to module 3. Thank you, Andrew. $15 more seconds. Okay, time's up. I hope the rest are back also. So let's resume the class. So welcome back, everyone. So as we dive into module 3, I Ching and Dao De Jing, let's challenge a common misconception that complexity equals depth. So we often think that the more intricate a concept is, the more profound it must be. But in reality, truth depth often lies in simplicity. Now, let me go back to Eve's questions. Eve is asking, Tao is so subtle, not everyone can feel it. By layman terms, since we wake up from bed, we don't brush our teeth with awareness, choose our outfit with ease. This is also Tao, yeah? Okay, so first thing first, Tao always advocate Wu Wei. Wu Wei basically means effortless. Effortless doesn't mean don't do anything, right? Effortless means you do something with the minimal effort, but yet get the same result that you want. So this is called effortless. So, but there's another part of Tao. It says that no, everything must comes with awareness. Don't do things blindly. Okay, so when we brush our teeth, we must brush with awareness. When we choose our outfit, we must choose with awareness. Now, when I talk about effortless, basically, I give an example. I know some people have difficulties choosing which outfit to wear every day. Okay, well, some people may have these issues. Now, for me, I have no issues because it really depend on what is the demand for the day. Right? So if let's say it's going to be a hot day and I have to walk, let's say do a feng shui audit, I have to walk in the outside and it's so hot day, then I'll wear something light. This is a no-brainer thing, effortless choosing, okay? Jashri is asking, will it be similar to mindfulness? Yes, awareness is actually mindfulness. That means you do it with an intent. I'm brushing my teeth now. I know I'm brushing my teeth. I know I'm brushing my left side of the teeth. I know I'm now going over to the right side of the teeth. This is called awareness. This is called mindfulness, right? So basically, back to Eve questions. To answer that, simply, we are not. Tao is not advocating doing things any old how, or not doing things without awareness or mindfulness. We must do things with awareness. We must do things with mindfulness. And then the effortless part is sometimes there are certain things that is already the environment or the condition already tells you what to wear. So you just go with the flow. You get my point? Go with the flow. And I think, yeah. So Andrew, you said that right. Go into or with the flow, doing something and time just pass. That's right. That's right. Or sometimes it's already, since it's like that, then I might as well follow. I just call go with the flow. You understand that part, Eve, and everyone else? Okay, thank you very much, Asri. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on. So let's start with the foundation of I Ching. So I'm trying to close up the gap between Dao De Jing and I Ching, so that I say they are not contradictory. Actually, they are complementary. It's just that the approach taken by Lao Tzu and Kongzi is a bit different, but they are all pointing to the same moon. Okay, so let's start with this I Ching. At its core, I Ching is about yin and yang, no brainer, or qian and kun, because qian is yang, kun is yin. So these two forces represents the duality of existence: light versus dark, active versus passive, creation versus receptivity, yin and yang. So together they are referred to as the Yi Zimen. Yi Zimen means the door of Yi, or door of change. Okay, this gate doesn't just lead to complexity, it opens up to the remaining 62 hexagrams, each representing unique patterns of change and dynamics in the universe. So this simple binary of yin and yang holds the key to understanding not just I Ching, but the entire cosmos, the universe. Right? So if it's asking, Tao is not a difficult concept, but a kind of experience with awareness and effortlessly. Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. So it's not something to comprehend. It's something to experience, to live it with awareness. You say it right, with awareness, with effortless. Okay, called Wu Wei. Oh, Wu Wei. Right, we'll talk about Wu Wei more in depth in subsequent workshops. A very important module. Oh, effortless. Okay, let's move on. Now that was I Ching. Okay, I Ching introduces us to the Yi Zimen, that means the door of a change. Now the Tao offers its own gateway. It's called the Dao Zimen, or the gate of Tao. And the two doors in I Ching is yin yang, but in Tao is called you wu. You wu means existence versus nothingness. So specifically, we refer to it as the you wu Dao Zimen, gate of existence and non-existent. So this gate, this Tao gate, teaches us that life isn't merely about options. It's about understanding the relationship between existent, or I may call it observable, versus non-existence, bracket, non-observable. So it invites us to explore the profound ideas that true understanding comes from recognizing what is not there as much as what is. So in the world of Tao, both existence and nothingness or non-existence are essential. They are two sides of the same coin, interconnected and equally significant. So when we stand at the gate of Tao, this door, we realize that simplicity lies not in more choices, but in the balance of existence and non-existence. So this perspective frees us from the burden of decision making and allows us to flow with the Tao. Right? So that's why when you talk about selecting what clothing to wear, if you want to go into that tiny little bits of detail about, oh, does this pattern, this button, what color of button should I use, that can match with this clothing, you are complicating things already. Okay, so simplified things. So as we explore these concepts further, remember, sometimes the less we cling to option, the clearer our paths become. I repeat, sometimes the less we cling to option, the clearer our paths become. Don't complicate things. Most people assume that once they understand yin and yang, they have cracked the code of ancient Chinese wisdom. But in Dao De Jing, Lao Tzu introduces something even more subtle, more premium, called You Wu, or means existent and non-existent. So in I Ching, we start with yin and yang, two complementary forces in constant flux. They give birth to change, movement, and transformation. That's the Yi Zimen, the door of change. But in Dao De Jing, Lao Tzu didn't begin with yin and yang. He began with You, meaning existent, and Wu, meaning non-existence, the foundations before form, before polarity. Polarity means yin yang. So you think of yin yang as describing how the world works, but You Wu, that's not how things work. That's how things exist. is about what is seen and unseen, form and formless, known and unknowable. So 有无 and yin yang, they are not the same. Don't confuse yourself thinking that they are the same. If they are the same, why would Lao Tzu want to reinvent the wheel and call it differently, call 有无? So they are not the same. Okay. So Darren said, can we say something like this hexagram? Example, what we see the hexagram 1 前 is 有, while all the lines changes to line 2 is 无. Yeah, the in between, you can say that, the in between or the transition, you can say is 无. Okay, but if you take many steps, what do you call that, away, you find that even before hexagram existed, it was in the 无 form, that means the non-existent form. Hexagram only come from the 八卦. Remember that? 八卦 comes from the 四象. 四象 comes from the 阴阳. 阴阳 comes from the 太极. And 太极 comes from the 无极. That 无极 is the 无, is the non-existent portion. And very sadly, I Ching didn't really address that 无 portion, the 无极 portion. It only starts talking from the 太极 portion upward. Agree with that? Agree with this statement here? I Ching always only talk from the 太极 onward. But 道德经 talk on both sides. 有无 they also what do you call that? 道德经 also talk about. Okay, Darren, yes, the in between. Yes. So the where the immutable law will comes in already. Thank you, Jasri. Okay, so here's a question for you. Any one of you are interested to know how Wu non-existent looks like? And anyone interested to know how it looks like, the Wu? Jiaxuan say yes or exclamation mark. Oh, yes. Okay, Jasri. Okay, Eve say yes. Jasri say yes. Darren say yes. Okay, I'll show you. The next slide. Don't blink your eyes. Don't blink your eyes. Jiaxuan said the Big Bang Theory. Okay, I will show you how Wu looks like. I mean non-existent looks like. Don't blink your eyes. Here's the next slide. You see anything? This is how Wu bracket non-existence looks like. This is how it looks like. Empty. Invisible. Nothingness. Yes. Okay. And yet, this nothingness is not empty. In I Ching, we call this 无极. I mentioned that just now. In I Ching, we call this 无极, the ultimate void before the movement of yin and yang begins. In Dao De Jing, this is simply called 无, not 无极. 无极 is used by I Ching. Okay, but in Dao De Jing, it's called 无, non-existent. The unobservable, the non-existent, whatever you call it. Okay, because we are not going to be bound by labels, remember? Or you can call it the nameless, the origin, whatever you want to call it. But just call 无. Okay, so don't mistake 无 for weakness. Don't mistake these blank slides for weakness. It's not useless. It's not absence. It's pure potential. Think of a blank canvas before a masterpiece. A silent pause before a great song. A seed buried in soil, unseen, yet holding the power to grow into a forest. And that is Tao. Yes, that's right. Can be filled with anything. So it's called the potential, the ultimate potential. And this is Wu. And this is how Wu looks like. This is the best that I can show you. I know it should not look like this, but this is the best I can show you in the observable dimension. All right. So pardon me if I couldn't show you the real thing, but I think this is the closest that we can get. Right? So how do we know there is a 有无道之门? That means the 有无, the door. How do we know? Okay. Actually, it comes from chapter 1. The clue can be found in chapter 1. It's called 无名天地之始，有名万物之母. Loosely translated, the universe exists in its purest, nameless form. As we started naming things, we give birth to everything around us. Now, pause for a moment. This verse is a clue to the 有无之门. That means the door of being existent and non-existent. See the first Chinese character here. Where is my pen? I lost my pen. Okay, here you go. See the wu and the you. You see the clue is here already. You wu ha. So before anything had a name, it is just was, or pure existence, silent, unlabeled. It's called wu, non-existent. Huh? The moment names appeared, we begin to separate, we begin to classify, we begin to recognize the word, and that part is called the yo. That means the existent part. So what if the very act of naming or labeling also creates limitation? So be aware. When someone give you a label, when you start to label things and people and behavior, or conditions, you are creating limitations. If say yes, but humans like to chase after thoughts and add colors onto the blank paper, but isn't this we create beautiful world as well? Master, may I have your thoughts? Yes, that is why Dao De Jing says, go ahead. The Wu is there for us to use, but use it responsibly. You get my point? Dao De Jing is, Lao Tzu is not saying that we can't use the Wu and everybody should just keep at the state of Wu. It's not saying that. He's saying that the potential is there, the blank canvas is there. Use it. No matter how you want to use it, you use it, but please use it responsibly. Remember, we are supposed to be a responsible ancestor. All right? We are not going to use that blank sheet to destroy Earth. We should not be doing that. Okay, but for the good of mankind and the Earth. Right? So, and later on, I will go also move on. I'm not sure whether it's in this workshop or in this workshop. I will tie Dao De Jing to law of attraction and manifestation because they are the same principles. Once you know Dao De Jing, you understand why manifestation is the real deal. And we say we are so accustomed to naming and further classification. That's us. And that's science. Isn't it? That's science, right? Science like to classify, and classify. Okay. Yeah. In the end, no end. No end. And the more we classify, the more we are limiting things. All right. Where was I? Okay. So let's zoom in two other words of in this chapter 1 of Dao De Jing. Is called Si and Mu, the highlighted Chinese characters. Si and Mu. Si and Mu. Si means the origin. Mu means the mother, the force that gives birth to form. Right? So when we look at the blank canvas, right, this is the origin. Okay, this is the Si, this is the origin. And when we say, we add colors, we add the watercolors, the crayon, or whatever, this become the mother, the force that gives birth to everything else, depending on your creativity and your skill. Okay. So the origin is nameless. The blank canvas is nameless. You can't even name it. Okay. But the mother appears when naming begins. For example, okay, now I have a blank canvas. I'm going to draw a dog. Naming begins already. And then we'll skew towards drawing a dog. Whether it turns out to be, look like a dog or not, it's a different matters. But at least the idea is there already. So you think about it. Okay, so before anything comes into form or identity, there was just pure being, nothingness, unobservable. This is the Si, origin, the beginning. Without name, without form, without separation. But the moment we begin to name, to identify, to label, a transformation happens. That's where the Mu, the mother, enters, a creative transmutational force that brings things into observable existence. And in Dao De Jing, it called this Mu the mother of 10,000 things. It's just a phrase, a jargon, the mother of 10,000 things. Now, Darren said, example, a dog see item for chewing, while the human see the same item that the dog see is a pen. End of the day, all are the same, exist in its pure, nameless form. Therefore, everything exists within us that we give birth to it. That's right. So actually, our brain, our mind, is a very powerful organ. It's not organ. Anyway, our mind is not an organ, but it's a very powerful part of us that is actually a Tao. There's a Tao in there. There's a universe in there. Okay, it's a very powerful Wu energy there. Why? When we talk about manifestation, right? Manifestation always take place twice. Okay, manifestation doesn't take place only one time. It minimally must take place twice. One in your mind, and the other one is in the physical world. So manifestation always take place at least twice. So our mind can manifest things that we want only if you know how to manifest correctly. And how to manifest correctly is to understand Tao. Right? That is, I leave it to subsequent modules and workshops now to talk about it. Okay, example of 有无 assistant, not assistant. Okay, the trees, talk about the trees. Before we ever call it tree, it was just part of nature. No separation, no identity. But the moment we give it the name called tree, we separated it from the forest. It's different from grass. It's different from rock. It's different from lake. It's called tree, right? So naming shape our relationship with it. So we could now cut it, plant it, protect it because we see it as a thing. Then we can went even further. We begin to label the types: mango tree, apple tree, orange tree, bonsai tree, or even a Christmas tree. So each new label added another layer of separation. And with every new distinction, we drifted apart, not apart, we drifted further from the original experience of the Tao, the wholeness, the unity, the unnamed. So the more we name, the more we divide. We have American, we have Asian, we have Singaporean, we have whatever, Australian. The more we name, the more we divide. Okay? And the more we divide, the more we forget the origin, the Tao, that we are all actually human beings. People start to forget. Okay? So, of course, naming is useful for communication, for survival, for building civilizations. But what Lao Tzu reminds us is don't get lost in the labels. Don't mistake the name for the essence. A mango tree is not just a mango tree. It is still the Tao in disguise. So let's talk about cross finger. The cross finger. Okay. Now, in many cultures, crossing your fingers is like a kind gesture. I cross my finger, and you do it to wish someone good luck. Okay. And that's what we were taught. And that's the label we give it. But do you know in Vietnam, anyone from Vietnam, okay, or know Vietnam culture, the exact same gesture means something totally different. It represents the female organs and is considered an insult if you show this gesture to a Vietnamese. Same fingers, same shape, different meaning, like what Darren said about the dog and the pen, right? So what's the truth? If we strip away the cultural meaning, it's just two fingers crossing. Now, let me tell you a quick story. Right, I was a personal story lah. I was walking down the corridor of a provision shop. Provision shop, those mama shop, they like to push out their trolleys, their shelves out into the corridor, and that make the corridor even narrower than it already is. So I was walking along that corridor. Now a young couple, a handsome guy and a pretty lady, were walking in the opposite direction. They mean walking towards me. I was walking towards them. And because of the narrow corridor, before that, they were holding hands. Okay, they were holding hands, and they're walking, side by side, okay. And because the narrow corridor, they didn't make space. So usually what we will do is, if we are civil enough, we will go into a single file line, and then so that each of us can pass through nicely. So the couple didn't separate the hand, didn't make space. So no choice. So I squeezed myself into a narrow gap between the self to let them pass. Now, as that pretty lady walked by, she looked at me in the eye and casually flipped her third finger at me. Okay. Most people, could have gotten angry. After all, in our culture, the third finger is offensive. Okay, but me, I a bit bochap because I didn't even flinch because I've learned something from Dao De Jing. A finger is just a finger. A label is just a label. Meaning is a sign. Okay, if I don't assign that offensive meaning to that finger gesture, then it's not offensive at all. All right, so meaning is a sign. It's not inherent. Okay, so now there are a few labels here that I want to share. Okay, label number 1. Pretty lady must mean kind lady. This is one label, right? This is a misconception. Most people will think that, oh, pretty lady must be kind lady, but may or may not. Okay, may or may not. Label 2, third finger equal to insult. It's a label. So if I don't assign any meaning to that third finger, it is not an insult to me. Right? So Lao Tzu here invites us to transcend labels, go beyond labels. See things as they are, not as we are told they should be. Okay, so Darren say, I remember that teaching to me, when you see the fan moving, then is the fan moving or your heart move? 动还是行动? Okay, 心动. Right, nice. Okay, so go beyond labels. Don't assign meanings unnecessarily. Then you are fine. You are at peace. Okay. Then you may be asking me, then where is Tao? Many people ask this question, hoping for a clear physical answer. So it's just like asking a fish, where's water? Now I can tell you, the fish probably, if can answer, but it'll tell you I have no idea. Right? Until one day, it's pulled out of it. Okay, you pull out of it. Until the fish is pulled out of it and then find, oh, I can't live without the water. So that is the water. I've been living in the water all this while. Okay, so the Tao is like that. It's not missing. It's not hiding. It's just that we stop noticing. We have been living in this water of Tao and that we are not conscious of. So that's like a grown-up child who walked past his parents at home, walk past, busy with his phone, busy with his plan, busy with his ego, as though they no longer exist in the world. I think it's pretty common. But are the parents really gone? No, they are still there. They are cooking, they are worrying, they are loving in silence. So Tao is not absent. We are the one who forget. Why? Because today, most people only believe in what can be scientifically proven. If it can't be measured, it can't be labeled, it can't be quantified, they will say it's not real. Science only scratches the surface. It only reveals the observable, the label part of reality. And there's a much bigger world that cannot be named, that cannot be seen, that cannot be tested. That doesn't mean it's not there. It just means it's beyond our current understanding. Okay, so this is Tao. So don't ask where is Tao. Actually, we are living in this Tao, or water of Tao. Okay, and just we say, yeah, you truly walk the path. I'm still trying. After all, I'm still human. All right. But once you understand it, I say we don't aim to understand Tao, but we aim to live the Tao. I mean, in alignment, go with the flow. And you feel at peace, a lot more at peace. So let's take a look at this simple yet profound diagram. Now, on the left side, we have Wu, called nothingness or non-existence. On the right side, we have Yo, called existence. And now here's where it gets interesting. The Wu part, the left side part, the what I call that, the non-existent part here. This is the unobservable. That's like the blank canvas that I show you. Unobservable. It cannot be touched. It cannot be seen. It cannot be measured. It's potential. It's silent. It's invisible, yet full of creative force, full of potential. So in Dao De Jing, it is Tao before it manifests. Now move over to the right side, called the Yo, the what I call that, the assistant. This is everything that came into being. what we can see, what we can hear, what we can name, what we can categorize. And we do categorize things like, for example, living things versus non-living things, right? So under living things, we have human, we have animals, we have insects and whatnot. And under non-living things, we have things like, what do you call that? Natural and man-made. Natural like mountains, rivers, and then man-made like buildings, smartphones, and whatnot. So all of it came from Wu, came from nothingness, came from non-existent, came from the blank canvas. And together, the unseen and the seen, the silent void and the 10,000 things put together, this is Tao. So if say Tao is harmony, no force, no resist, but not suppressed. If I want to angry, may I acknowledge it, but I choose not to be angry. This is Tao Ma, my own Tao. Yes, that's now my example whereby third finger was pointed at me. I can choose to be angry. I can choose not to be angry. This is my Tao, because I strip away the meaning. To me, it's just a finger. Okay, or I may have misinterpreted her finger, for all I know. So why should I be so upset about it? Let them pass. I just walk my way through. That's it. Finish. Tao. Okay. So is that okay? If no force, no resistance, but Tao is everywhere, very close to us, very very close to us. Just like we are fishes in the water, and the water is the Tao. And we often think something comes from something. That's the scientific part. We always feel that something must comes from something. Lao Tzu flips that thought logic. Lao Tzu say, 无众生有. Existent, everything else, the 10,000 things is born out of non-existent. That means the nothingness, the wu. So we are taught to believe that if you can't see it, touch it, or measure, it doesn't exist. This is scientific reasoning, right? But the Tao teaches us the reverse. Dao De Jing always teaches us the controversial part of it, which I find very interesting. And it's the truth. Okay. So what is the Tao teaching us? The reverse thing is that everything that exists first came from what cannot be seen. The same way, a dream is born from sleep. A thought arises from stillness. Suddenly you bathe halfway, a thought arises. A crazy idea comes out. A masterpiece emerges from a blank canvas. And yes, the entire universe came from Tao, from Wu, nothingness. So we spend so much time analyzing the yo. The scientists spend so much time analyzing the yo, trying to understand the world by what we can observe. But the true wisdom is learning to honor the Wu, the non-existent, the blank canvas, the mystery, the unseen, the infinite potential behind all things. So once you shift this belief, you start to experience life very differently. You realize you're not just a part of existence, you are also a gateway to a vast nothingness that is the Tao itself. So let's go deeper into the magic of I Ching, okay, and how we explain the beginning of all things. So now we flip chart and we look from the perspective of I Ching. Okay, so in I Ching, right, the beginning isn't a Big Bang, right? It begins with Wu Ji. Wu Ji, here, Wu Ji. In short, it's also called nothingness. Or it's the ultimate nothingness or ultimate void. And Wu Ji is also the purest ultimate potential. No movement, no division, no form. Just the infinite void before anything is born. Then from Wu Ji, something stirs. And that stirring gives birth to Tai Ji. So you can stir up Tai Ji 1, you can stir up Tai Ji 2, And then from each Tai Ji, that means the singularity point, right? Yin and Yang branch out. Yin and Yang branch out. And that's where duality begins. And from the Yin and Yang comes the Si Xiang, the four phenomenal. And then from the four phenomenal comes up with the 8 trigram, the Pa Gua. And from the Pa Gua, the 64 Gua. And then the entire universe, the 10,000 things. Okay. So, what do you call that? my mouse. Okay. Now that we have entered the profound doorway of Tao, the Yo and Wu, let me ask you a $1,000,000 question. Where do you come from? If you have answers or you have opinions, type in the chat. We can discuss. Where do you come from? People will say, I come from my parents. Not wrong. Okay. Or I was born in Singapore. Not wrong. Or I came from a womb. Or more technical or more scientific. Right? But let's pause and look through the lens of Tao and I Ching. Before there was you, a name, a face, and identity, there was something complex, right? 老實講，or the seamless, unobservable force. 呢種係無字。Okay, you were not a person, you were not a thought, you were not a baby. You were part of Tao before you were born. You were part of the silent, invisible mystery that gives birth to all things. And from that nothingness, the Yo is born. You came into existence with breath, with a body, with an identity. And all of it was a manifestation of something far deeper. You are not just from your parents. You are not just your race, your country, your story. You are from the Tao. From Wu, you emerge as the Yo. From nothingness, you emerge as the existence. So next time, when you feel small or you feel stuck or insignificant, remember this. You come from the same place the stars, the oceans, and the mountains come from. And you carry the Tao within you, whether you remember it or not. So let's zoom in into this powerful line, further lines from chapter 1 of Dao De Jing. I will just read out these two words here, 常无 and 常有. Okay, here 常无 and 常有. Right, so I just want to highlight this. These two key words that will challenge your current way of seeing the word 常无常有. Let's break it down. 常无 here, loosely translated, it means always in the state of no desire. In short, emptiness, nothingness. When we are in 常无, a state of 常无, we let go of our attachments, our labels, our wants. In this state, we start to see the invisible, the mysterious essence behind things. What Dao De Jing calls, what do you call that? 奇妙. Oh, just say cannot see the slides. Is it just me? How about the rest? Can you see the slides? If can see the slides, okay. Jiashen can see the slides. So Jasri, if you can't still see the slides, if it does not comes on, then maybe you may need to re-log in again. I mean, re-enter. Okay, I'll wait for you. Anyone, any question while we wait for Jasri? Welcome back, Jasri. Can you see the slides now and hear me? Thank you. Let's move on. Okay, 常无. I'm still on 常无. 常无 is, let me repeat, meaning always in a state of no desire or, in short, emptiness. So when we are in that state, we let go of our attachment, our labels, our wants. In this state, because we let go of our attachment, labels, and wants, right, we start to see the invisible, the mischievous essence behind things. right? And what Dao De Jing calls this is the subtle wonder. Why? Because you start to see more things because we are not limited by labels anymore, or by expectation, or by attachment. Huh? We are not limited by that anymore. So we can see more things. So this is when we tap into the Tao itself. Not the things it creates, but the source behind everything. It's like seeing the wind, not just the moving leaves. A lot of us are trained to look at the moving leaves, but we should now train ourselves when we see moving leaves, try to spot the wind. So the wind is the Wu part. Okay. And if we are, if we are tied or limited by the labels called moving leaves, then we are stuck there. We are limited already. So if say, Master, your third finger encounter has been transcended me further, be it I already knew about non-duality and nothingness. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your, you have this so-called your own enlightenment on my third finger encounter. Yeah, so I think this is important that we don't assign meaning unnecessary to things, because we will skew out the way we think and see things already. Okay, let's move on. So this, what Lao Tzu is trying to tell us is, when we look at things, when we examine things, try to stand from this Wu standpoint. Okay, try to stand from this Wu standpoint. It means stand from here, from the unobserved part, and to look at the thing. Then our our view, our scope will be more wider than most people. Next, 常有, this word 常有 here. Okay, basically meaning, loosely translated, says always in the state of desire, or in the state of having. So when we are in this state of 常有, we are looking at the world through wants, through labels, through expectations. Basically means we have our few different lenses that we always use and change to look at things and to understand things. And in this state, what we see is the outer form. I can call that as the manifestation. But what the Dao De Jing call this Chinese word, okay, 常有义以观其教, this 其教 here, okay, basically means 教 basically means the boundaries or the surface level. Okay, so this is how most of us live daily, and say there's a mango, there's a pretty woman, there's a third finger, okay, that's a good life. But remember, these are only appearance. Most people only live in the 常有, always in a state of desire or in the state of having. Obsessed with what they can see, touch, buy, or own. They only see the form, they don't see the essence. But if you want to connect to Tao, you must also enter the space of 常无. So when we go into problem solving mode, right, always go to the perspective of here, the 常无 here, and then look at things. I think I've said that just now, but just remember as a reminder. Where was I? So let go of the desire to label, process, and control. And then suddenly you begin to see what others cannot see. You see the mystery, you see the magic behind all existence. Just like just now I talk about the moving leaves. Don't just be limited to the moving leaves, spot the wind. Okay. So let me ask you this. Are you stuck in the surface of life? That means, are you always stuck in the 常有 dimension? Or are you ready to enter the mystery, the 常无? Because true mastery is dancing between both. 常无常有, 常无常有 is a dance between both. Knowing when to see the form and knowing when to feel the formless. Now, Eve is asking, Master, Tao first, then Yin Yang, correct? Let me put it this way. I wouldn't say Tao first, then Yin Yang. I would say Wu first before Yin Yang. Because ultimately, the Wu plus the Yin Yang plus the Si Xiang plus the Liu Si Si Guai, everything else together is called Tao. You get it? Okay, example. Now, I show you this picture here, this slides here. What do you see? What do you see? Type in the chat. What do you see? Jia Xuan say chop tree. Alicia say trunk. Okay. Jasri say tree. All right. All right. Any more? Any more? Good, good, good. Any more? No right, no wrong. Okay. It's matter of where you are standing to look at this picture here. Are you standing from the Changwu or are you standing from the Changyou to look at this picture here? Okay, what else? If say by one look is tree, but actually it's from a seed. Okay, good. Jasri says a trim tree. Very good. Lin say lifeless. Okay, good. And say wood. Very good. Okay. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just a matter of standing from which perspective to look at this picture. So like I think most of you have said that it's like a tree, it's just a tree stump, it's a dead, lifeless, useless, maybe even an eyesore. Now, if you're saying that, then you probably are standing from the Changyou perspective, from the assistant perspective to look at this. Okay, you see what is already there. You only see the moving leaves, right? You see what is already there in its current form, a stump, probably to be discarded or removed. Probably could be an eyesore to you too. But what if I told you that there's only half the story? Now let's shift into the Changwu perspective, from the nothingness perspective, the blank canvas perspective, and look back at this picture. Can you try that? Can you try that? Stand from the Changwu perspective, that means the blank canvas perspective, and look back at this picture and then type what you see in the chat again. Can you do that? Let's try. Because I've been telling you to stand from the perspective of Changwu. You may not understand what I'm trying to say. How can I stand from the perspective of Changwu? Okay, so this could be one simple exercise to let you stand from the perspective of Changwu. That means from the perspective of nothingness. Now I'll give you a clue. Instead of focusing on what it is, we focus on what it could become. You get my point? I repeat, instead of focusing on what it is, we focus on what it could become. Okay, just say, oh, oak tree, but that's still labeling. Yeah, that's still labeling. You still see what it is as it is. Okay, so when you stand from the perspective of non-assistant, right, from the perspective of blank canvas, right, we don't see what's already formed. We don't see what's already formed. We see the potential. Okay, we see the potential. Lin said live, breath, present. Okay, so that's good. That's good. Okay, but any more? Any more? What potential could there be from this this thumb here? In the eyes of blank canvas, right? This could be a blank canvas, right? This thumb here, it can become a portal of infinite creative possibility. None. Keep practicing, keep practicing, because this is good for this approach. Is very good for problem solving, very good for creative generation. Right now, this is what happens when someone chooses to see from the blank canvas point of view. They didn't just see a tree stump. They saw life within the lifeless, like what Lin mentioned, life, breath, and presence. So they saw life within the lifeless, value within the discarded, art within the abundance. So from the Yo mind, the what I call it, the labeled mind, the world is limited. But if you stand from the Wu mind, that means the non-assistant mind, the blank canvas mind, the world is limitless. This is not just about wood or art. This is about your life, your career, your relationship, and even your self-worth. So the question is, are you stuck seeing things for what they are? Or are you beginning to see the power of what they can become? So I Ching and Dao De Jing are here to train your eyes to move beyond the form and into the formless potential. Can you all follow me up to here? So therefore, maybe let me ask you this. Have you ever felt love or intuited danger or sense that someone was watching you even before anything actually happened? When you have that kind of feeling, right? Those strange feeling, do you need a lab experiment to prove it was real? Of course not. Okay, so here's the common fallacy that people always say that I only believe it if it can be scientifically proven. Sounds smart, sounds right? But let's challenge that belief for a moment. Science is a powerful tool, no doubt, but it's a tool to measure what can be observed. There's limitation. Here's the problem. What if most important things in life cannot be seen or measured easily? Example, love, purpose, inspiration, gratitude, consciousness, and the Tao. Does their lack of scientific proof make them any less real? So here's the thing. Science is like a flashlight in a dark room. It shows us part of the room, what the light can reach. But it doesn't mean that the rest of the room doesn't exist. So the Tao, like eating with them, begins where that flashlight ends. Right? So absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Basically means just because something hasn't been proven by science doesn't mean it's not true. It may just mean science hasn't caught up yet. So Darren say, how you prove and measure your love, your wife and husband? Yeah, exactly. Unless we are pecan, now dig your heart out and show that it is. Even dig a out and show that it's pumping, you can't measure also. Okay, so yeah, so I challenge you. Instead of asking, is it proven? Try asking, is it possible? Because the moment you close the door on possibility, you also shut yourself out of the vast, invisible flow of the Tao. And that, ironically, is the most real part of your existence. Okay, let's me go back to talk about the hexagram that I shared earlier on, the viewing. Why? Because in subsequent lines of chapter 1, I'm still in chapter 1. Can you believe that? Here, 以观其妙，以观其教. The 观 here actually it carries the same significance, the same essence as the hexagram of 观 viewing, which I've shown you earlier on. So let's talk about this 观, or you can call it observe. So 观 isn't just about what your eyes can see, it's about what your mind and heart can perceive. So when we only use our eyes, we stay on the surface. When we judge people by their looks, places by their decor, and moments by their face value, the real question is, can you sense the invisible spirit? Spirit means the essence of it, the sun. In Chinese called the sun, behind what's visible. Okay, so you see, sometimes, for those who learn feng shui, when you go to a house, even though it can be beautifully and expensively decorated, there's still inherent problem. Why? Because for feng shui master like us, we look at all those invisible energies and what can it do? What is it doing, affecting the the homeowners and the families, right? Okay, so Eve is asking how to connect above examples to solve a problem. Okay, when you solve a problem, okay, you see, for example, when certain things happen to you, most people will ask this question: why is this happening to me? Right? People will always ask this question and then they try to find answers from this question. Why is this happening to me? You're already limiting the answers already. What is happening to me? Sway law, bad luck. That's probably the probable answer that you can find. Okay. Or he's cruel or he's evil, something like that. That's why he's doing this to me. But if you stand from the blank canvas point of view, you say that, why is this happening for me? Then you open up. You open up, isn't it? Right? So why is it happening for me? Or maybe there's a lesson for me to learn. Or maybe if I do it the other way, it could be better. You open up the scope. So Darren is saying, maybe what happened to us is the right one for us. Maybe. Yes, maybe. Okay. So if you go with the flow, right? Let me tell you this. This is my experience also. When you go with the flow, whatever happens, is always in the best possible outcome for you. If you go with the flow, test it for yourself. Test it for yourself. Don't believe a thing I say, because this has happened to me, I think, throughout my life. Okay, my life. That even though no matter how crazy the things happen to me, after a while, when you look back, that is the best possible thing that can happen to me. It sounds weird, but it is true. Okay, Lindsay, can you explain the literal meaning of 教? 教 basically means boundaries. Okay, 故常无欲. Okay, 故常无欲, 以观其妙. 以观其妙 means if you stand from the blank canvas point of view, you see endless possibilities. 以观其妙. Okay, and if you stand from the labels, the name, the assistant point of view, or 常有欲, 以观其教 means you can only see the boundaries, the limitations. That's called 教. 教 means boundaries. Is that okay, Lin? Okay, good. Okay, furthermore, on this hexagram viewing, in the line 1, it says that, I think I mentioned this, childlike observation. At this stage, you're like a child, curious, open, and a little bit ignorant. That's okay. That's okay. Okay. At least you're not pretending to know. You don't know means you don't know. And you are curious. You can find out more. So it's okay. But as we try to find out more, then we go to line 2 of this hexagram. It's called observing through a crack. I mentioned this also. Now, here, you start to realize what you see is limited. You are picking through a gap in the wall. You don't see the whole picture. But if you are aware of that limitation, you are already wiser than most. A lot of people are stuck at this level here. They thought they see the whole picture and they stop wondering. They stop being curious. But if you're aware of the limitation, then you are wiser than a lot of people. So don't just look, observe, not with just your eyes, but with your awareness. If you only rely on your senses, you miss the unseen flow of Tao. You miss that sun, that spirit, okay, the essence of it, running quietly behind the scenes. So think of it this way: a puppet show looks simple, but behind the curtain, there's a whole system of strings, hands, and timing. So life is the same. Look deeper, feel further, perceive beyond the obvious, and that is true Guan. Guan basically means observing. If say I got it, not to buy by the problem, but to see through the lesson we can gain and possibility we can grow. That's right. So we don't look at what it already is. We look at what it can be. What's the potential? How can I grow from there? Okay. Then you are right. We can gain and the possibility you can grow. Yeah. So that is standing from the blank canvas point of view. Right. So the last 2 sentences of chapter 1, finally, okay, it says here, let me loosely translate it. These two spring from the same source but differ in name. That means Yo and Wu, although the names are different, the labels are different. One is called Yo, one is called Wu. But these two, they are named differently, but they are the same. 2 sides of the same coin. Okay. So at first glance, Wu and Yo seems opposite, right? One is assistant, one is non-assistant. Wu represent nothingness, while Yo represent assistant. But they are not opposite. They are just 2 sides of the same coin. I repeat this again. They are just 2 sides of the same coin. There is an example, you can see all men cheat your money. We are in the cycle of jiao, okay, mean boundary. So till we see man is part of life to support us, then we are in the cycle of miao. Oh, wow. Very good. Very good. I think you have, Darren, you have gone up another level of understanding and of experiencing Tao. So imagine flipping a coin. Heads represent your basically mean assistant, the tangible, the visible, the manifested, and the tail represent the wu. That means the non-assistant, the intangible, the invisible, and you can also call it the potential, right? You cannot have one without the other. You cannot speak of assistant without acknowledging non-assistant. So they are two sides of the same coin. And together they are called Tao. And this is the Chang Tao, the eternal Tao. Okay, so let's go to the very last line of chapter 1. Right? Loosely translated is like calling it profound. And this profound is the gateway to endless wonders. Right? So this statement invites us to elevate our perspectives. When you look closely at life, at the world around you, you might notice differences. Things that seems contradictory, things that seem conflicting or unrelated. When you step back and view them from a higher perspective, from the Changwu perspective, that means the non-assistant perspective, the blank canvas perspective, you will realize that what happened to be different is actually the same. You think about it, day and night, success and failure, love and loss. At first glance, they seem to be opposite. But from a higher viewpoint, they are part of the same cycle, necessary for balance and growth. So Lao Tzu called this xuan, or loosely translated is called profound. And there's an even deeper layer. So that's why this Yo and Wu forms the door, or the gateway to all wonders, to everything else in this universe. The recognition that the universe is not just a collection of isolated events or things. Okay, it is an interconnected web of experiences and lessons, all stemming from the same source. If it's asking what is Chang Tao in English, eternal Tao, or the real Tao, or whatever you call it, the eternal Tao. I call it eternal Tao. Where was I? Okay, when we become aware of this interconnectedness, we open ourselves to a world of possibilities. We see that every challenge can lead to growth. Why? People see limitations, we see potential. And every setback can pave the way for success. So I encourage you, look beyond the surface. Seek that higher perspective, the Changwu perspective. Find the wonder in the ordinary. And as we continue, let's keep this in mind. Every moment is an opportunity to discover the extraordinary in the everyday. That is in what Lao Tzu's term is called 玄之又玄. So as we wrap up this module, I want one more module to go. So as we wrap up this module, let's take a module to recap the salient points we have covered today. Each of these concepts opens the door to profound understanding in both the I Ching and the Dao De Jing. Number 1, Tao, the origin of everything. So we began our journey with Tao, the source of which all things emerge. It's not just a concept, it's the very fabric of existence. Everything we see, everything we feel, everything we experience springs from this invisible force. Number 2, everlasting or eternal Tao. It consists of changing, unchanging, observable, unobservable. So in our life, things are always in the flux, changing moments by moment. Okay, but amidst this change, there's an unchanging essence, the underlying Tao. Recognizing this duality helps us navigate life's ups and downs with grace. So Darren is saying most of us are busy manage the yo, which is 5% we can work on. Think logically, how good with us, we are in the space of 5%. Very good. Okay, upon we work on the 95% wu, we have bigger spectrum of opportunity to reach to higher potential we can be. So in short, 95 versus 5% of life. Very chim. Okay, Darren, but you are there. You are there. Okay, so a lot of us are working on the yo and neglected the wu, and they keep circling within that yo and can't find a way out. Like I said just now, if you want to find a way out, or you have to step out and go to the perspective of Changwu. Changwu means the blank canvas point of view. Look at things, look at potential, not look at what it already is. You say, then why no duality in good or bad? Then why no duality in good or bad? Correct, Master. In Dao De Jing, there's no such thing as good or bad. By determining it as good or bad, you're already labeling things. You get my point? So you're already saying what it is already. Or I got injured, or this is bad. Because you already assign injury equal to bad. Or then that's bad. Okay. What do you call that? But if you stand from the point of Changwu, you say that the item that I use actually can injure people, then it's not safe. Then I better be careful, or I better warn people also. So that is Changwu. Also, when things happen, is neutral. In fact, it's just an event that happened, that take place. So we only assign meaning to it, that it is good or it is a bad event. Can you follow me? Okay. No problem. Okay, so there's no good or bad in Tao. It's just an event that took place. Is we assign, we label things. We assign a meaning and then label it. That makes good or bad. Okay, so next, let me move on. Number 3 is that label, name. It's just a label. It doesn't always tell the whole truth, right? So we talk about the limitation of names, right? Labels can be useful for communication, but they often miss the deeper truth. Remember, when you name something, you may inadvertently box it, limit it, and shrink it, losing sight of its essence. So true understanding requires us to look beyond the labels. And number 4, nothingness and existence. Two sides of the same coin. So finally, we arrive, in this module, we arrive at the relationship between Wu and Yo. They are two sides of the same coin. The vast potential of nothingness gives rise to the richness of existence. Without one, the other cannot be fully understood. Okay, so with that, we end module 3. Are you still good with me? Type yes in the chat if you are, or I've lost you already. I hope not. Thank you, Jashan. Thank you, Jasri. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Anne. Let's move on. Module 4. Let's debunk Yo assistant. Okay, because Lao Tzu is here to debunk a lot of things. So one of it that he's going to debunk is Yo assistance. So as we journey deeper into the teaching of Lao Tzu, we must prepare ourselves to confront an important truth about Yo. That means assistance. In this module, Eve is asking, Master can address above Qingming, people marry ma, how you see? Where? Where? Darren said example. Oh, sorry, I missed Darren's text. Darren said example, in some part of China, they get married in Qingming. Then it's good or bad? I've seen people married in Qingming. I've seen people trying to avoid Qingming and also 7 months. So like Darren is asking, is it good or bad? I would say there's no good or bad. It's just an event. And people starts to label traditions, or the moment they label traditions like Qingming is for dead people, then is some Hokkien call it pantang, to marry, during the month for dead people. Then they start to label it. Westerner, do they care whether they get married in Qingming or not, right? Am I right to say that? So the moment you don't subscribe to that label, you are out of that label already. Can you follow me? If and everyone else? Okay, let me move on. So in this module 4, we will debunk the idea of assistant itself, right? And thanks, Eve. Thanks, Jasri. And before that, let's consider a few questions. How, people will always, compare themselves. They'll say, how come you have more than me? Very common kind of how come. Or how come you receive a promotion while I didn't? Or how come you seem happier while I feel stuck? These comparisons are all rooted in the realms of, in the dimension of yo, assistant, the visible, the tangible, the material world. So yo, right? Yo, this assistant, right? Lao Tzu says, is often the source of our pains and worries. You think about it. When we focus solely on what we have or don't have, we step into a world of competition and comparison. So we begin to measure our worth by status, by possessions, or by achievements. And then we chase after things that can easily slip through our fingers. And we start to feel less than, lacking, or even jealous of others. Lao Tzu teaches us to look beyond this surface level existence. True wisdom is recognizing that the chase for more can lead us to pain. So the endless quest for more is often what keeps us trapped in anxiety, in frustration, and in discontent. So instead of measuring our life by what we see and possess, we must learn to find value in the unseen. I mean, the potential, the Tao, the Wu. Okay, so in this module here, we'll dive deeper into the nature of Yo and how it shapes our lives, our relationships, and our sense of self. So remember this: the pursuit of assistance alone can lead to suffering. This is what Lao Tzu says, and I believe it's true. I believe it's true. So when we stop comparing, when we stop measuring, when we start appreciating the Tao within us and around us, we open the door to peace. Right? So if they don't compare, make peace with self, everything seen is equally fair. Yes, that is the way. That is the way. Don't compare. Don't compare. If you want to compare, if you really, really want to compare with someone, then my suggestion to you is you compare with the yesterday you. Yesterday you. Were you better today than the yesterday you? That is the way I if I want to compare, I'll compare like that. So if you want to compare, I'm sharing with you my methods. Right? So if you really die, insisting on comparing with someone else, then compare with yesterday you. Are you better today than the yesterday you? Okay, let's move on. Now, module 4, man-made standards. Okay. Now, let me ask you an honest question. You look at this picture. Okay, so I'm asking an honest question, so I hope I have an honest answer. Which side of her face do you think looks nicer? A or B? Does she say both? If say A, and say A. Okay, now there you go. Okay. So thanks for your honest answer. So most people will go for the smoother side, the youthful side. That's usually the answer. Why? Oh, okay. Miss Darren's text. Darren saying, nowadays for myself, blessed I have, cause previously I have none. 所以我已经赚到了. Well, this is gratitude. Good job. Okay, good job. Okay, so why like that? Why people has a tendency to say that, which side looks nicer, then they will start go for the smoother side, the useful side, why? Okay, Dao De Jing explore this. In chapter 2, now we move on to, we are already done with chapter 1. Now we move on to chapter 2. In chapter 2, it says here, 天下皆知美之为美，是恶已. Loosely translated, when everyone sees beauty as beauty, okay, then there arises the recognition of ugliness. The moment society sets a standard for what is beautiful, it automatically creates a category for what is ugly. This is what this first sentence means. I repeat, the moment society sets a standard for what is beautiful, it automatically creates a category of what is ugly. Yin yang ma. Yin yang is automatic, two sides of the same coin. So we were not born thinking wrinkles are ugly. We were taught. How were we taught? Through advertisement, through filters, through influencers, through magazines. We were conditioned to label one as beautiful and the other as less than beautiful. And here's the truth. Beauty is not truth. Beauty is a standard, and that standard is man-made. So the danger of man-made standard is this. When we accept them blindly, we judge others. Worse, we judge ourselves. So we strive for things that are unnatural, just to fit into a box we didn't even build. So if we can just step back, just as Lao Tzu invites us to, we begin to see without labeling and feel without measuring. So we begin to see Tao in all things, even in wrinkles, even in asymmetry, even in the word, what the world calls as imperfection. So beauty and ugliness are just two sides of the same coin, yin yang. So you can't define one without giving birth to the other. And once you do, comparison, judgment, envy, shame, all follow. And here's what even more important. Lao Tzu is not saying beauty or ugliness is real. He's saying they are just concepts. They are just labels constructed by the human minds. Oops, did I miss one? Just we say man-made labels. Exactly. I'll give you some examples what I mean by man-made labels. And if we follow blindly, we may regret our choices. So Darren say chapter 2 really resonate closely in 4 year coincidence of 4. We want the best all this far for ourselves, then the crack of ugly surely surface out for us to bite. Yeah, pretty true. Very true. Yeah. Okay. Let me move on. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. I think this is a very popular phrase here. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. And this is quite true. And so does ugliness. There's no universal standard. Okay, there's no personal, there's only personal, there's only personal perception. The moment we stop chasing after one side of the coin, trying to be, for example, more beautiful and trying to avoid being seen as ugly, we free ourselves. And only then can we return to the Tao, where we don't need to be this or to be that. We just are the way we are. Whole, enough, present. Look at some examples. High heels. In today's context, high heels looks elegant, right? Let's not forget, they are just a modern version of ancient bound feet. A standard of beauty that once crippled generations of women in China. Back then, that's beauty. But today, okay. So same with high heels. So 100 of years or 1,000 of years in the future, I don't know what is the latest beauty standard. So why are we chasing after all these transient kind of standards, and make ourselves suffer? Okay, talk about Singapore 5 Cs. And nowadays people don't talk about 5 Cs, but back in my time when I was still in my prime, this is a Singapore standard of success. National standard of success, 5 Cs: cash, car, condo, credit card, country club. This is a badge of success, or is it a hamster wheel you didn't even ask to run on? Education. Let's talk about education. We worship degrees, didn't we? Parents worship degrees. The children didn't worship, but the parents did. Okay, so let's talk about this. So when you have a degree, you are considered as successful. When you are dropout, you're considered as a failure. These are labels. Okay, but labels really doesn't define who you are, who you really are. Look at these 4 person. I'm not sure if you know any one of them. I'm sure you know at least 3 of them. Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, and Bill Gates. By the way, they are all dropouts. So what's now? Who's the failure? Right? Oh, Jasri, you know all 4. Good job. Okay, good. Okay. So Lao Tzu saw this thousands of years ago. Surprisingly, right? 1,000 years ago, Lao Tzu already saw this coming. So in chapter 2, he warned us, when people define what is good, then bad appears. Yin Yang. When we set standards and labels, we start comparing, we start judging, we start competing, we start suffering. And here's what Lao Tzu is really inviting us to see. Don't blindly subscribe to man-made standards. They do not define you. Dao does. That's why we have Dao De Jing. Okay. And when we stop measuring ourselves against someone else's ruler, we return to our own nature. Not beautiful, not ugly, not elite, not low class, just real, the real you, the real deal. Okay. So next time you feel not good enough, ask yourself, who set that standard? Was it really you that set the standard? Then make the choice, okay, to unsubscribe to that standard, to unbecome to that standard, and to unlabel yourself. Because in Tao, you already are. No label needed. Okay, now let me ask you this. Do you believe that people who do charity or volunteer work are good people? Do you believe that? Now, it sounds logical, right? Because how many people do charity and how many people do volunteer work? So if they do, it means they must be good people. It sounds logical. But according to this chapter 2, Dao De Jing, it says that when we label someone as good, we have just created the opposite called no good, or san, and 不善, which comes to the line 2. Okay, 皆知善之为善，斯不善已. Loosely translated, it says that everyone recognizes goodness as goodness only because there is badness. Again, it's yin yang. Now, remember the recent money laundering scandal in Singapore? Some of the accused were heavily involved in charities, donations, fundraisers, social work. From the outside, they look like san. San means good people. So actually now, the label basically means man-made standards is when you do charity, when you do social work, you are labeled as good people. Okay, now that you have learned Dao De Jing, you should use a different lens to look at these labels called good people. San. So the binary trap is this: when we idolize good people and then demonize no good people without question, we stop seeing what is real. Okay, so good people, bad people is just a label, and label can be used to manipulate, like what that just now the example that I've shown you earlier. So Jia Xuan said a lot of donations are to avoid paying tax. So that's true. Yes, Jia Xuan, thanks for sharing that point. So are they good people because they did donations? Question mark. Okay, so you know now. Okay, have you ever feel insecure because someone else looks better than you? Or thought that your progress was too slow compared to others? Or got frustrated because something was too hard for you but easy for others? If yes, then congratulations. You have been caught in what Lao Tzu call the trap of duality. Can you see this this phrase here? This one? Okay. It's called the trap of duality. 有无之相生也，难易之相成也，长短之相形也，高下之相迎也。迎生之相合也，先后之相随恒也。Loosely translated, the assistant and non-assistant give rise to each other. I mean, I have, don't have, they give rise to each other. Difficulty and easiness complement each other. Long and short act upon each other. High and low fill each other. Sound and silent harmonize with each other. Precedence and sequence follow each other. And this is called constants. Let me break it down for you. 有无, the first one, 有无, okay. Assistant and non-assistant arise together. You only know you have something because others don't. Jealousy is born the moment comparison begins. Okay, that is assistant versus non-assistant. The next one, hard and easy define each other. Okay, what's easy for one may be hard for another. Yet, we judge ourselves harshly, thinking we should keep up. Then you're making your life difficult. Okay, and number 3, long and short, act upon each other. Ever call someone too short or too tall. If you do that, then based on what standard? Right? It's always a comparison. Number 4, high and low feel each other. The minute you say someone is above you, you have put yourself below. And now, for no reason, you feel small. Okay, and the 5th one, sound and silent harmonize each other. So music isn't just notes, it's the pauses in between. So sometimes the silence speaks louder than the words. And the last one, the precedent and sequence follow each other. We are always rushing. Singaporeans are always rushing. Why? Because you think you are behind or because someone is ahead. But where's the finish line? Seriously, where's the finish line? So Dao says, stop taking sides. Don't take one side compared to the other sides. Stop obsessing over what's better, what is faster, what is higher, what's longer, what's easier, what's more beautiful. All these labels, man-made, temporarily. Like that bounded feet that I showed you just now, temporarily, only for that few, probably the 20, 30 years or whatever, and after that, today, do you see bound feet around? No. Okay, face out already. Right? So all these are man-made labels. They are just temporary. They are just relative. You are not less than anyone. You are not behind. You don't need to win in a game that was designed to divide. Okay, so what if you didn't have to play by man-made standards anymore? Right? So if you saw the beauty in both sides and found peace in the middle. So because of these six duality, like these 6 polarities, right? The labels that I gone through just now, we place on beauty, we place on success and everything in between. Lao Tzu observe a crucial truth. Okay, Darren say, as the year of doing eating prediction, I do less and less for myself and everything is 常道. Why 执着呢? Right, good. I think in the prediction class, right, I mentioned something like, as you progress in your eating prediction learning, you come to a point, at some point, 无招胜有招. Did I say that? Do you remember I said that? 无招胜有招. Until, there's no techniques to follow at all. Okay, and you just go with the flow. And that is Tao. Right, good. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so like I say, Lao Tzu observed a crucial truth because of these 6 polarities or 6 dualities. It says that sage engage in effortless action and teach through actions rather than words. 是以圣人处无为之事，行不言之教. Okay, and this 圣人sage this word sage 圣人, Lao Tzu mentioned 圣人 28 times across 23 chapters. So this is how much weightage that Lao Tzu plays on 圣人 and its characteristics. Now let's talk about 圣人 for a while. So this 圣人, right, isn't just a casual mention. I say it mentioned a lot of times in the entire 81 chapters. So this is a recurring reminder of the loftiest ideal figure in the human world, the one who embodies true wisdom and understanding. So the sage is not bound by the man-made standards we often find ourselves trapped in. They transcend these dualities, and in doing so, they live freely, and that's called sage. Now, Kongzi or Confucius also frequently reference sage, okay, sage 圣人 to few specific historical figures like Yao, Sun, Yu, Tang. These four historical figures, in the eyes of Kongzi, they are the most ideal 圣人 or sage that we should embody. Okay, he believed, Kongzi believed this figure exemplified the ideal qualities that we should aspire to emulate. Now, for Dao De Jing, for Lao Tzu never mentioned specific names. He only used the word 圣人. Now, may I ask you why? Why Lao Tzu never referenced it to any specific figures? Why? Type in the chat. Thank you, Jasri. Because of labeling. Now, if he reference it to some specific figures, then he fall into his own trap, right, of labeling. So therefore, said no, I'm not going to label, but there is such a qualities of a 圣人 that we should aspire to emulate, and I won't name any people. Okay, there's another reason. I think Lao Tzu think deeper than Kongzi in this aspect here. So even Lao Tzu, another reason why he didn't reference it to any specific historical figure is this. It says that even if this Yao Sun Yu Tang, right, were to appear in our world today, with Donald Trump around, with Joe Biden around, could they still achieve what they did back then? Could their methods work in today's complex society? Could they still be revered as sages in our modern context? So that's why Lao Tzu suggests that the quality of a sage are not tied to names or historical figures. Okay, so Jasri say that, and we can also say that he thought that all of us have the potential. Very good point. So we have the potential to be, to live like a sage as well and become a sage ourselves too. And Darren say if begin to label, then we better scrap reading from the beginning of chapter 1. That's right. Then he's falling into his own trap already. Then no point following Dao De Jing. Or he must lead by example. And when I say lead by example, right, this is called 行不言之教. Lead by example basically means 行不言之教. But let me talk about this. So what's the two principles of a sage? So what does it mean to live like a sage? Number one, 处无为之事, non-action, 无为. And I say 无为 doesn't mean do nothing. This doesn't mean doing nothing. It means taking action without force, without striving against the natural flow of life. That's number one. And number two is to teach without words. How to teach without words, right? So the most profound lessons comes not from lectures, but from examples, like what Lao Tzu did. When he said don't label, he really don't label. Okay, so the sage demonstrate wisdom through their actions and their choices, allowing others to learn through observation. Now, the word 无为, this 为 here, okay, this 为 here, 为, we can also understand it to mean violate, okay, violate, right? And then 无为 basically means, where's my mouse? Act, but not violating the natural order. Okay, so think of it this way: 无为 is not about inaction, I mean not doing anything, but it's about intelligent action. It's about aligning with the flow of life rather than pushing against it. It's about recognizing the natural rhythms and cycles around us by acting in harmony with them. Imagine a river flowing effortlessly. It doesn't struggle against a rock or obstacles. It just flows around them, adapting as it goes. So that's the essence of 无为. And 行不言之教, what is that? Basically means walk the talk. Okay, you must live it or you must live the Tao. You must embody in your daily action, so that people can observe. You say act what is need to do and without expectation. Yes, what is need to do, that's one thing, And sometime when the time is right, you just go with the flow. Go with the flow. Okay. So that is called go with the flow, effortless because time is right already and everything is there already. The conditions are all ripe for you to just take that next step out. You just take that next step out. So that's why in manifestation, I think for those attended my IAM manifesting system, I say you go with the flow. When you have that nudge, it basically meaning the universe is trying to tell you the time is now. Do it. Then you just do it. This is called go with the flow, effortless. Okay, where was I? If you think it's hard to practice 处无为之事,行不言之教, to engage in action without force and to teach through examples, look no further than nature. Just look at nature, how they did this 处无为之事,行不言之教. Now, there's one line in this chapter 2 here. It says that all things are produced by Tao, and yet they are never abandoned by Tao. Now, this profound statement tells us that Tao, after creating everything, does not abandon any single thing. In the eyes of Tao, there's no such thing as a useless or abundant person or things. Okay, so Tao is always there supporting us silently. So therefore, all creation in the eyes of Tao are valued and equal. In the eyes of Tao, all are valued and equal. None is more important than the other. Okay, so nature teaches us that every element has its purpose. So whether it is a towering tree, a tiny weed, or a forgotten rock, each plays its roles in the ecosystem, contributing to the whole. So in the chapter 2, it also says 生而不有, basically means always creating but not obsessing. This is nature characteristics. So if this is nature characteristic, that means this is also the sage characteristics. So this encapsulates a fundamental truth about nature. Nature is in the constant state of creation, always creating things. Even though no matter how hot the weather is, you find that at some cracks of on the floor, when there's a crack, you find that there's some grass growing up. Nature is always in the constant state of creation. Okay, and if teach without words, just by observation, the people might see or think differently. Yes, then you must be consistent in your choices and in your actions. Consistent. Okay, so the people might see or think differently. They will still keep getting the same message from you. What was I saying? Just say that means no copywriting or trademark or patents. Basically, that is what Dao De Jing is trying to say. Okay, basically, meaning, if I, the Tao, the supreme energy, the forces, all of you are created by me. If I'm going to put copyright and trademark and patents, then there's no end. Okay, so I create, but I don't possess. This is Tao, the characteristics of sage. So so nature simply creates and nurtures without attachment, without copywriting, without trademarking, without patenting. Yes, that's right. You're right. Difficult in the materialistic world. That's why we can see a lot of conflicts. Okay, that's why we can see a lot of conflicts, because not many people, in fact, very few people can understand what we're trying to comprehend here in this workshop. There is it's true, as Master Yo teaching, when you choose to throw boomerang out, it naturally comes back to you. Rather you hold, possessing the boomerang, nothing comes back. So it's boomerang. That's good. Yeah, that's right. What goes out will go on big round, come back to you. So let's look at what the humans often do. What Jasri is trying to say also difficult in the materialistic world. Take for example, the Philippine vows to never surrender an inch of territory in the South China Sea. So these claims stems from the ownership, territorial disputes, and the desire to possess what is seen as valuable. So while nature creates effortlessly without noise, we humans often find ourselves embroiled in conflict, fighting over what we believe to be ours. So this desire for possession can lead to tension, rivalry, and ultimately suffering for all. So imagine if we could embrace the nature of Tao in our lives, if we could adopt the mindset of 生而不有, That means we can create, but we don't possess. Understanding that we can create, share, and thrive without clinging to ownership. No, what if everyone understood Dao De Jing? Then there will be peace on earth. Okay. If said no, master, my understanding is if teach without words, that person might repeatedly observe the wrong things. How you see? Okay. So if you what do you call that? Where was I? When they observe the wrong thing, they will have their own observation. That is their Tao. Okay. And we find that it is violating the Tao. Then we should adjust our choices and actions to show them again. And if worst case, you can always explain, verbalize it. Lao Tzu is not saying that you cannot verbalize, but the best way is to lead by example, like what Lao Tzu did. When he says sage, he don't mention names because that is labeling. This is lead by examples. Can? Okay, next. Let's talk about something essential, free will. Free will. Okay, so basically, 生而不有 basically means free will lah. Okay, just we say much like the sea, like the fish, we doesn't care is in Philippine water or Chinese water. That's right. It's a good example. Okay, to share. Just read. Yes, I like this. Yeah, human being is very different from all other creatures. They like to fight, whatever. But then you look at a fish, like what Jasri is sharing, you don't care whether it's in Philippine water or Chinese water. They just need the water. Okay, so let's talk about this free will thing. Nature exemplifies this beautifully. It continuously produces. It produces tree, then the tree grows, flower bloom, river flows, and then it steps back. Nature doesn't impose restriction. Each creation is allowed to flourish according to its own path, its own free will. So after bringing forth life, right, nature grants every being the freedom to decide its own course. It's called free will. This principle of free will means that every creature has the right to choose its destiny. When a tree grows tall, it doesn't ask for permission. It simply reaches for the sun. Now, let's consider how we can apply this principle to parenting. In today's world, many parents opt for just one child, often choosing to nurture that one life to the fullest. So here's the question. Are we as parents allowing our children to embrace their free will? In many cases that I've seen, we project our dreams, we project our ambitions and our standards onto our children, often out of love, but sometimes out of fear. So we create a world where we feel wrong. We create a world where they feel pressured to conform. The children feel pressured to conform to man-made standards of success, happiness, and achievement, like what I went through with the 5C standard, Singapore standard. Okay. So you see, Dao De Jing can be applied to parenting as well, right? And leadership as well. Everything in life because we are integral part of the nature. Okay, next, another sentence from in chapter 2 is loosely translated in English. It says that nature acts but do not claim credits. Okay, this wisdom reflects how nature operates. You think about it now. Nature is incredibly capable, from trees to fruits to human to insects, to whatever, mountains, river, minerals, all sorts of things. Very capable, right? Yet, it never steps forward to claim credit. Now, a mountain doesn't boast about its height. Himalayan mountain didn't boast that I'm the highest. A river doesn't demand recognition for carving the landscape. Nature simply exists, performs its function, and allows the world to benefit from its presence. So if nature doesn't claim credit, then who are we human to do so? So should we really seek recognition for our accomplishments? So you think about it now. I know it's hard to subscribe to this in today's context, right? Because otherwise you'll be sidelined for promotion. But you think about it. Are you causing pain to yourself? Yeah. So when we aggressively seek to claim credit, we often come off as threatening or self-serving. Then we create barriers instead of building bridges. So imagine if instead of shouting our success from the rooftops, let's practice humility. We work hard in silence and allow our achievement to speak for themselves. So basically, let your success be your noise. So when you operate from a place of humility, you invite collaboration, you invite trust, you invite respect. So it becomes a source of inspiration, not competition. So look at Lao Tzu. Look at Lao Tzu. After he wrote Dao De Jing, based on historical findings, he quietly left the so-called the hotel, the inn, and disappeared. But look at today. His legacy remains till today. So that means he let his work shout for him. So what I call that? Darren say sounds like Santi Qian. Yes, humility. Yeah, exactly. So if say act but do not claim credit, this is also Tao. Tao is within Yin and Yang, but also beyond Yin and Yang. That's right. That's right. Remember, Tao is actually Wu and Yong. Yin and Yang is in the observable form already. So Tao is also in the unobservable form. Both together called Tao. They actually say, so till the time is effortless, we can shine. But if we are creating stress, then step back. Yes. So we can still be promoted, in our workplace effortlessly. I was once, when I was in the corporate world, I was once labeled as a passive leader. My bosses, when they were talking to each other, they label me as passive leader. That means I still perform my leadership role, but in a very passive way. Or I'm not those that shout or rah-rah, they call it rah-rah, but I don't. Okay. So Carl said the social media fever is obsession with image. Exactly. Labeling, and then defining what is beauty, what is ugly. The trap of duality that we talk about. So the next sentence in chapter 2, Lucy translator is saying that the nature is not dwelling anywhere and thus never get abundant. Okay, so this line beautifully captures the essence of existence and abundance. It tells us that when we don't cling to possessions, status, or labels, we remain ever present and supported by the universe. When we learn to not dwell on any one thing, be it achievement, relationship, or material possession, we open ourselves to a state of abundance. This is very important for manifesting. For those who are into manifesting and you have trouble manifesting, take note of this page here, this slides here. Okay, so don't dwell on anything, because nature don't dwell on one place, on one thing. And when we don't dwell, we open ourselves to a state of abundance. So in this space, we recognize that we are always in existence, always supported. Now, look at how this contrasts with the behaviors we often see around us. Yeah, in many Western cultures, people frequently thank individuals for their contributions. Say thank you for this, thank you for that. So while gratitude is a beautiful sentiment, it can sometimes lead to a sense of dependency on others. Now, then again, what happens when the person you thank turn around and betrays you? Suddenly, the gratitude feel very empty, and you might feel yourself feeling, find yourself feeling abandoned. Okay, but in Chinese culture, it's very different. In contrast, Chinese culture often expresses gratitude to 天地, heaven and earth. 谢天谢地, thank heaven, thank earth. So when people, when we see Chinese people, right, say the 谢天谢地, thank heaven, thank earth, they acknowledge that the universe is always on their side, constantly providing support and abundance. And a lot of time, they provide support and abundance through people around us. Right? But for the Western people, they send gratitude to the intermediary, that means the people around them that's been sent by universe to help them. All right. So therefore, if you want to send gratitude, send to the source. All right, so this is Chinese way of doing things. It's a bit different from the Western way. So this perspective fosters a deeper sense of security and connection to something greater than oneself. It teaches us that our existence is sustained by the natural order, regardless of individual relationships or circumstances. Now, as we are coming to the end of module 4, I think now it's 5:30. I want you to take a moment to reflect on something truly profound. Have you realized that although the Dao De Jing was written thousands of years ago, its teachings are still vividly present in our world today? What Lao Tzu articulated centuries ago about human behavior, societal standards, and the nature of existence continues to resonate in our modern life today. So these concepts are not just relics of ancient philosophy. They are living truth that we see unfolding around us every day. So when we look at the ongoing struggles over status, over success, and material wealth, we find ourselves repeating the same patterns Lao Tzu warned us about. So when we see people trapped in this binary judgment of good versus bad, success versus failure, we are reminded of these timeless insights on duality. This is the beauty and this is the power of Dao De Jing. Its wisdom transcends time and culture, offering guidance that is as relevant today as it was in Lao Tzu's time. So the challenge is to recognize that we often get caught up in man-made standards, losing sight of these eternal truths. When we do this, we miss the opportunity to apply the lessons of the Tao to our lives, ultimately leading to suffering and then conflict. If say not dwelling there, but what to do not to feel abundance, you just have to tell yourself, I'm not abundance by the universe, but not abundance by nature. I still have nature, and nature will always be there supporting me. Okay, so we are not dwelling on someone, somewhere, not dwelling on anything. Okay, especially for example, relationship. If that relationship is gone already, don't dwell on that past relationship. Move on, because you still have universe behind your back. You get a point? Okay, as we approach the end of today's class, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question. And that question is, why is society often so chaotic like today? Why is it so chaotic? Lao Tzu, in the Dao De Jing, Lao Tzu identified 4 major causes of chaos that resonate deeply even in today's context. And what are these 4? Number 1, fame. Number 2, gain. Number 3, desire. And number 4, knowledge. Now, we can readily understand how fame, gain, and desire can lead to chaos. But knowledge, so how can knowledge, often seen as a positive force, right, also contribute to chaos? That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. But that's from Lao Tzu perspective. And so if you're interested to delve further, remember to show up for workshop 2, which is tomorrow. So please sign up if you have not already done so, right? And if you have done so, then please remember to show up tomorrow, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Thank you, Jasri. I know you have signed up for 3. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so for those that attended before and you have not registered for the refresher, please sign up for refresher. It's free, by the way. Refresher is free. Okay, so this is a critical point we will dive into in Dao De Jing Workshop 2 tomorrow. So understanding these causes of chaos is essential, right, for navigating our lives with greater wisdom and harmony. Right? So, okay, where was I? Before that, as we wrap up today's workshop, I want to take a moment to reflect. What have you learned in this workshop that you can start using in your life? Type in the chat. Okay, so as you integrate this teaching, right, ask yourself, how can I live more harmoniously with the Tao? And what man-made standards am I ready to let go of to embrace a more authentic life? So Darren say, from the natural perspective, I see it. For human perspective, they're in the path violating day by day. Yeah, that's right. Therefore, and it going back to chapter 1, as Master Yo mentioned, the main reset again. That's right. I hoped more and more people can get in touch with Tao Te Ching and experience Tao, and then change the way they thought they know. Yeah. So if say I thought I've already opened up, but today lesson open up further. Oh my, I see understanding. Huh? Okay, very good understanding. Yeah. Carl say, why this is happening for me? I sometimes forget this perspective. Very good. So with this question, you're actually stepping back and then see things from the point of non-existent. Then you see a lot of unlimited possibilities. Jia Xuan said the world needs to learn Tao Te Ching urgently. Haha. Okay. Yes. That's why I saw that coming. I saw this trend coming. That's why 2 years ago, I started with this workshop 1 and progressively pushing out workshop 2, workshop 3. And workshop 3 is this year, right? And then I'm aiming to push out workshop 4 also this year. I hope I can do that because I have a tight schedule. But I hope I can do that. Okay. Now, if say today's lesson is really amazing, looking forward tomorrow. Yeah, I'm also looking forward myself. Okay. And say understanding much better the essence of Tao in today's world. Very good. Now, I also want to share an exciting opportunity with you. We have a brand new course coming up this year. Brand new. It's called Huang Ti Nei Jing, the Tao of Healthy Living. Is in October 18, 19, 25th, 2 to 5 p.m. live online, like what we're doing today. So this course dives deep into the ancient wisdom of Huang Ti Nei Jing, exploring the principle of healthy living through the lens of Tao. Okay, the lens of Tao, right? And so this is the fee and the early bird fee, So if you're interested, do sign up. Jasri said, please share the link. Okay, yes, the replay will be available. All my program replay will be available. Darren said, when you can reset back to zero, let go your ego, then in a better flow in life. Yes, ego is one big chunk of thing that always pull us back. Lin said, I'll be away during this time. I hope to catch up next time. Sure, no problem, no pressure. Yeah, Lin. Okay, next. Now is April. This month is April. May, I don't have any program. So the next program that you can expect is in June, and it's called Eating Form Feng Shui, right? So this is in June. Also 3 lessons, Saturday, Sunday, 2 to 5 p.m. live online. And this is a Feng Shui study without using any luopan. It's very powerful. Okay. And next, again, another brand new program, but this is for next year. Okay, this for next year. Lin, you're asking whether this which one? This one, is it from Feng Shui, right? I think you have already attended, but let me check. I'll get back to you, Ken. Alicia is asking when is Dao De Jing Workshop 3 next Saturday. Next Saturday. Workshop 3, next Saturday. Okay, so this brand new program is in 2026, but I'm asking for early registration, right? So this is after years of requests from our students. I'm thrilled to announce that this brand new program is ready. Okay, but it's in 2026. It's called 悬空大卦 Deck Selection Program. It's in May next year, right? And the fee and the early bird fee is all there. You can take a look. Okay, noted. Jasri, Wang Ti Nei Jing and Yi Jing Form Feng Shui. Lin said, I need to attend all your programs. So many life-changing revelation. Oh, please do attend. Okay, because I have a lot of things I want to share also. That's why I'm in this moment of creating, and sharing. All right. So with this, I want to express my gratitude for your participation and engagement. Your presence truly adds value to our learning community. Last but not least, before you go, here are a few important reminders. Number 1, feedback form. Please take a moment to fill in the feedback form. Let me share the link in the the chat here, so that before you turn off your laptop or your browser, please go to this link. Let me copy and paste this link first. Okay, here's the link. Okay, the feedback form link. And also the testimonial section will also be inside this link there. So please take a moment to fill in the feedback form, and your insights are invaluable and help us to improve. Plus, we love to hear your testimonial about your experience too. So next, after you fill that in, once you submit, you'll be redirected to the flash deal corner where you can do all the sign up. And number 3, the recorded videos, the videos will be sent for processing. And once they are ready, they'll be uploaded to the training portal. So it's called the Heartbeat Training Portal. So if you're not created an account, please do so. And last but not least, next year, if I run this program, this workshop again, I will invite you back. And if it's on live online, it will be a free refresher for you. So please, I urge you to come back. Okay. So as you leave today, remember the power of teachings we have discussed. They are not just concepts, they are tools for transformation. So have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you tomorrow in workshop 2. So thank you once again for joining us today. Goodbye for now, and bye-bye.